You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Morning. First of August. What a big show we have lined up for you. Phil Steele on the show. Our buddy Antwan Staley will join us covering the Jets as we've transitioned to previewing the AFC East. And Bob Harig is joining us because apparently LIV will live. Only should they keep it live. We'll talk about a few things with Bob coming up. But top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well, David. Good morning. It is interesting times in a lot of sports. Obviously, we are closing in on college football and the NFL. 34 days away from kickoff in the NFL season, 23 days for the college folks. And for those of you that just can't wait, you get the Hall of Fame game tonight. Arizona, Carolina in Canton for the first kickoff of the preseason. But I'll tell you, David, two sports that we probably talk about more than other shows around the country. One for sure, because nobody talks about the one that I do want to get into at some point, at least for a small segment. Something you and I have only been talking about for a handful of years, seemingly is going to happen, but I don't know ultimately what it means. And obviously, as you mentioned, Bob Harig on the show, because Live Golf looks as if it's going to live. Interestingly enough, I'm waiting to hear what they have to say, because this damn near sounds like the PGA and Live are merging, but we don't have any details. Because the gentleman who runs Live said, hey, we've got funding, we got all this money. Who is it? Well, I'm not going to tell you yet. So I am very interested to hear what they have to say about that tour. You know, with Bob Harig, I'm going to have to talk some PGA Tour, because I think what they're doing is terrible for the game of golf, but they're all systems go on that. And David, you know, we've been telling people, smart people inside the business, that horse racing needs to change. And they're changing. And a couple of things in the last 2 days have come out. And, you know, the Preakness moved. Yesterday, I didn't know if the Preakness was going to live, because they set up a 6-series racing circuit that didn't include the Preakness. So I'm fascinated by what's going on in the horse racing world. I'm fascinated by what's going on in the golf world. And obviously, here we are in baseball. The Rays extend their lead while the Red Sox close in on the Yankees. This is getting interesting in the AL East.
Very, very. Meanwhile, Aaron Judge worked out yesterday and said, oh, I'm definitely coming back. As for when, we'll have to wait and see. But he let all Yankee fans know, all is not lost. I will return, and with our pitching, we'll be fine. Hope so. Certainly hope so. So I have to admit, I miss the horse racing.
Well, the Preakness is moving. They're going to be the third Sunday after the Derby. 2 days ago, there was an announcement that they're running a 6-race circuit for 3-year-olds, starting with the Derby, ending in August. The Belmont was part of it, but the Preakness wasn't. And it's a point system, and there's a lot of money. And I know most people don't care, but they left the Preakness out. So now that the Preakness has moved in trying to get Derby horses to compete in that race, one, will they? Secondly, your move, Belmont, are they going to move this race? So I'm just, 3 weeks after the Derby, that could get you to Memorial Day Sunday some years, right?
Yeah, pretty darn close. Yep. But
So,
yes, good. If it's a late first weekend in May, it'll get you to likely Memorial Day weekend.
right. So I'm curious, and what that means for 3-year-old thoroughbred racing come next year, because now I guess it's the Maryland Jockeys Association that's running the Preakness. So there's just a lot going on with the Triple Crown races, and it's changing. And some people don't like that. You and I have been in favor of it for at least 5 years, David. At least 5 years. And there are those out there, there are some in our chat room. Well, it's hard for a reason. I understand that. But thoroughbred horses race less each year than ever before. So do you change with the times to try to make all 3 of your races relevant? Or do you just keep on keeping on and, once every quarter century, we've got a shot at a Triple Crown winner? I'm not sure which one's right. I think for the stability of all 3 races, this needs to change, and this is the first step in that, for what it's worth. And again, I know that 5% of our audience cares about this, but the fact of the matter is, a couple of the markets that we're in, Tampa, St. Pete, and the Fort Myers, Naples market, they watch Triple Crown racing.
It's like hitting in baseball. It used to be get them on, get them over, get them in. Now, get as many as you can on. Good luck, because everyone's swinging for the fences. And then hopefully you'll get one over and get them in. And so some of us preferred the old method, but they ain't changing. And they ain't changing how they pay out either, based on certain numbers. So it'll be interesting what horse racing ends up doing. But yes, first football game tonight with guys in helmets and shoulder pads and names and numbers on the back of the jerseys. I think it should be our poll question. Usually I leave the poll question up to you. I think the poll question should be something along the lines of, are you going to watch Carolina and Arizona tonight?
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. And I think it's just simply, how much are you going to watch? The pregame festivities, if you will, the first quarter, the whole, as much as I can, or I wouldn't turn this on if you paid me. And that's where I am. I will not, I can't say that. I've got 2 TVs. You know what, David? All bets are off. There's a chance, because it's funny. As much as I don't care about preseason, if I put the game on, my wife will stop and go, there's football on? No matter what it is.
And you'll go, well, not really. It's Arizona and Carolina.
We can't be bashing Arizona anymore. Our buddy works there. I mean, come on. JP's been good to this show. You've known him for 20 years. He's been good to this show for damn near that long.
Yeah, but he doesn't start working for him until the weekend. I think we still have 48 more hours we can bash him. The organization gets a lot better after Friday.
So, Arizona and Carolina, helmets, shoulder pads, in a stadium that's hard to watch it on television. But you choose. I mean, heck, I'm watching. I had the Brewers game on last night, for crying out loud. Brewers Pirates. Who's watching that?
And it's funny. I loved it, because it's significant games for both teams. More significant for the 500 team, in a way. Because, the Cubs are playing good ball. They can't gain any ground on the Brewers, because they always play good ball. And
the Cubs are playing great ball right now, actually. I mean, I'd take it past good. They're playing terrific baseball. I watched a little bit of that yesterday afternoon as well.
And, as for the Pirates, they're pseudo in contention. And they haven't been pseudo in contention at this point in the season this decade. So I want Paul Skeens in meaningful games in September. I want the Pirates to have a shot. They fortified their bullpen. Problem against Milwaukee was they could only get one late lead in that series.
Well, and last night, it was a big game for Skeens, and he did not pitch well. Even for him not pitching well, he doesn't give up a ton of runs, but it was like the most 3-ball counts he's ever had in his career, the most 3-0 counts he's ever had in his career. It was interesting, David. Last night, I would compare Skeens to that golfer that shoots 72 and doesn't play well, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Because he didn't pitch. It wasn't horrible.
Nope.
But it was nowhere near a good performance for him. It was, as you know, I've heard you say a couple times, guts and guile is what he was pitching on last night because he didn't have his A game at all.
Nope.
And had to figure it out. And even without his A game, he's still really good.
Yep. But quite frankly, when you're playing for the Pirates, you don't know how many times you're going to be in contention down the stretch. So honestly, I know they're going to try to win the next couple of years, but no guarantees when Skeens is going to pitch in meaningful games again.
So we've got a football game with helmets and pads, helmets and shoulder pads, and the helmets you kind of recognize. I mean, after all, it is Carolina and Arizona, so do you really recognize them? It's similar to watching a mediocre Big 12 game, in my opinion. But again, if it's all that's on, I think you're watching. So it'll be our poll question today. As David's mentioned, it's Phil Steele Day. This is like a national holiday for Miller and Moulton, at least for Miller. I don't know about David, but this is one of my favorite days of the year. Love our chats with Phil Steele. We encourage you, if you've never done it before, to join us on Twitch or YouTube. We love you listening on the radio. We do. We love you listening on the iHeart app, whatever app you're taking the show in on. But the fact of the matter is that Phil not only gives us time during the show for 2 segments, we bring him on during our break and pepper him with questions for 4 or 5 minutes there as well. So Phil Steele will join us. Antwan Staley. We get into the Jets as we start our run through the AFC East, finishing the third of 3 divisions with Florida teams in it. We've already done the NFC South. The AFC South will finish with the AFC East, and today it's Antwan Staley and the Jets. Bob Harig to talk about the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour. The Fantasy Football Summit is Tuesday night. You, me, Dr. Roto. Sign up, millerandmoulton.com. Fantasy football season is here, and there's only one place to get the edge. Join Miller and Moulton for the Fantasy Football Summit with Dr. Roto at Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe, Tuesday, August 11th, 7 p.m. Get championship-winning draft strategies, sleeper picks, busts to avoid, and answers to all your fantasy questions from one of the nation's top experts, Dr. Roto. Whether you're playing for bragging rights or big money, don't draft without this event. Tuesday, August 11th, the Fantasy Football Summit at Shoeless Joe's with Dr. Roto. Sign up, Miller and Moulton.com.
Well, Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Buying or selling a home? Put a local expert to work for you. I'm Mark Miller with McWilliams Buckley, and I believe real estate is about more than transactions. It's about helping people make the right move, from pricing your home to negotiating the best deal. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call or text me today, 239-425-5582. That's 239-425-5582. Experience, local knowledge, and a personal difference. That's what I'll bring to the table.
This is Miller and Moulton.
David, you're going to probably have to let me come out of break because for whatever reason, when the music's playing and you're talking, it gets very glitchy.
Okay.
And it just kind of breaks you up. And I don't know if it's your speaker on the phone because you're using that today. I don't know the reason why, but
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Phil Steele Day on the show today. Antwan Staley to talk the Jets. Bob Harig to talk the PGA Tour and the Live Tour. It looks as if it may live, no pun intended. And the Fantasy Football Summit, Tuesday night. You, me, Dr. Roto, dinner, and a night of fantasy football. The Doubletree Hotel in Fort Myers, where Shoeless Joe's is at, and the Bell Tower Shops. Sign up now, millerandmoulton.com, millerandmoulton.com.
I'm telling you, Arizona, Carolina. I know NBC's bringing out the A-team, and the pre-games and the halftimes, and, depending on who's going into the Hall of Fame, I mean, the football is going to be lousy, and virtually everybody who plays is not going to make the opening roster, at least not the 53, maybe the 69, but whew. I mean, I know we've been counting them down, 23 and 34, but this is desperate times for desperate measures. And if you're betting Carolina minus 1.5 points, whew, I think that's a sign of a crisis personally, but maybe this is your training camp as well, and you're just getting ready for the season. But whew, man.
Yeah, we've said it before, and I shouldn't say that we've always discouraged you from betting the preseason because for a long time, betting Baltimore in the preseason was a pretty smart bet. I hate to say it that we're aware of that, but it is, it was tried and true for damn near, a lot of years.
Well, until Joe and Troy started calling Monday Night Football, and we started doing a couple of Ravens games because we were the kiss of death of the streak. They had 23 in a row, something like that. I mean, that's right. 6 straight years of not losing a preseason game. And I know Washington beat them in a walk-off a couple of years ago. And the streak was over, and we had it.
So, there is that, that's on us. Because once Miller and Moulton jumped on board, it went the other way. But yes, we do not encourage you to bet preseason football. We've encouraged you to bet. We're all for gambling on this show. That will never change. But betting the Hall of Fame game, well, that takes it to a new level. David, I said it yesterday on the show that the Rays... You got to, we say it in football all the time. When the schedule maker gives you a win, you have to take it. Well, at this point of the season for the Rays, I think the same phrase is true. And while a sweep was not obviously necessary, how big were the last 3 days in Colorado for the Rays? I mean, the Yankees are hanging around. Boston's playing unbelievable baseball right now. The Red Sox are just on fire, a game behind the Yanks now. And the Rays get Colorado. And it wasn't necessarily pretty, but they got it done. And they come back home, taking all 3 games, and their lead's now 4.5.
Well, when you looked at the 6-game stretch on the schedule, they were home for the White Sox for 3 and at Colorado for 3. You would have taken 4-2. And that's what they ended up delivering. They just didn't go 2-1, 2-1. They went 1-2, 3-0. And the key game in the series for the Rays was the second game, when they rallied and scored 2 in the 9th and won it in extras. So, and hey, this is the Yankees' problem. Their offense is so bad right now, they can't produce consistent runs against regular season pitching. What's it going to be like when they face playoff pitching? Even if they get Judge back. So that's the big dilemma for the Yankees. I mean, they've had a couple of games here where they've only scored 1 run against the Cubs and the Cardinals. Tough to win that way. I mean, they basically have to give up no runs to win.
Well, and obviously, you're 100% correct on Judge. There's nobody that could argue with you. But part of the reason they've been able, one, their starting pitching's terrific, but 2, Bellinger's having a great year. And when he went out, now there are so many holes in that lineup because he was able to plug a little bit of it. And they get Luis Garcia, who got off to a good start with the Yanks. But I mean, without Bellinger, without Judge, and I'm sorry, you and I have said this all year. I'm not counting on Giancarlo Stanton coming back for any length of time. It's just not who he is.
Well, and it will be interesting. They've now acquired too many first baseman, outfielder DHs. That Stanton could be the odd guy out. Now, Stanton does have a really good postseason record in his career. He's been in the postseason quite a few times. And I think with all but 1 appearance, he performed like you'd hope he'd perform, if not better. But right now, Mark, my $20, Yankees tied in the loss column, half a game ahead of the Red Sox. 1/3 of the season left. Who's going to finish ahead of the other?
Well, right now, I mean, I think if you were to bet, where do the Yankees finish? The 1 seed, the 4 seed, or the 5 seed? I think you'd have to bet on the 5 seed. I think you'd have to.
Even though when they were healthy, Miller and Moulton have thought they were the best team in the league. Now, I did say quite a while ago, I thought the Rays were going to win the East. It was why I wanted them to go get Skubal. They ain't going to play a best-of-3 first-round series. They're going to go straight to a best-of-5 division series, but they're going to play the second-best team in the American League in that series. I mean, the Rays will win the series against whether it's Cleveland or the White Sox or Houston. They will win that best-of-7. But to me, it's did they put a good enough team together to win the best-of-5 against the Yankees or the Red Sox? We shall see. But I would have loaded up because I think if I'm winning that series, I'm going to the World Series. And we've been around 30 years or so. And you know how many times we've gone to the World Series? Twice. And I can't count on going to the World Series every handful of years like other franchises write it down. I mean, that's why this has been a, quote, tough stretch, unquote, for the Yankees. Only 1 World Series appearance in the last 16 years? Oh my goodness. What do we do? But good week so far for the Rays and the Red Sox. Not so much for the Yankees.
And the Yankees get the Braves now.
Right.
That's their next series. You know, while the Red Sox host the Athletics and the Rays take on Seattle on the road. Miller and Moulton. Baseball chugging along, football knocking at the door. And I know that's what gets most of you excited. The best 34s in the history of sport, that could take us the entire segment. That's coming up, but the starting five, that's what we do next.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com, capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape. The Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and your
sound.
roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I do think if we put this poll question back up tomorrow, is your answer going to be different? Are you going to find that all of a sudden you're watching more than you thought? That's my only question. You know, I put none of it on X and did say I'm scared that's not going to be the answer. You can have the best of intentions of not watching this game and end up watching some of this game. Coming up. Come on. Get some time. It's the half hour of the day at which my cats like attention. About 6:30 to 7. And that's a bad. And we'll see.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Great show lined up for you today. Antwan Staley coming up in the 7 o'clock hour to talk the Jets. Are they going to be better than the Dolphins? Are they going to be better than people expect? We'll find out from Antwan coming up. Phil Steele at 8 a.m. for a half hour. The best in the business in college football. He'll break down as many teams as we can get to. He goes quickly. Pay attention is all I can say is when Phil Steele is on. And then Bob Harig in the Pro Hour to talk about the goings-on, not only with Live Golf, because there's some news there, but there's a lot of talk about what happens 2 years from now in the PGA Tour, and we'll talk to Bob about that as well.
But at 21 minutes before the hour, time to get caught up on what you may have missed yesterday. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the Starting Five.
And we'll start with baseball. Caminero hit his 33rd home run. That's dangerously close to a 50 home run pace. Rays beat the Rockies, swept the Rockies 4-0. You combine that with the Yankees losing at home to the Cardinals 3-1. Yankees are 4.5 back. Only good news so far this week, Judge worked out and said, quote, "Oh yeah, I'm coming back," unquote. Now, when? If you do the math, I think it'll be hard-pressed to be before September 1st. But then again, the season ends right around September 27th. So, maybe it'll be enough time to change the division standings. But if nothing else, they need him and Bellinger and Stanton for the playoffs. The Red Sox, meanwhile, they keep winning 7 in a row. They beat the first place White Sox 4-0. They're a game behind the Yankees in the standings. Tied in the loss column are the Red Sox. Don't forget about the Orioles, who traded off some people and have managed to win games. So much so that they're a half a game out of the playoffs. Baltimore 5-2 over the Angels. Mets have beaten the Guardians for 2 nights in a row, 6-5-10. Guardians, well, they've got 2 ways to make the playoffs. They're tied for the final playoff spot in the American League, and they're just 3 games behind the White Sox for the division title.
For the record, David's correct on everything he said. The one thing he didn't say, however, is you don't have to win as many games as you've lost to get into the postseason right now because the Rangers and Guardians are a game below 500 and tied for the final wild card spot.
Kansas City's beaten Minnesota 2 nights in a row. The Twins have lost 4 in a row. They're 4 back of the White Sox in the Central. Seattle doubled up the Tigers 4-2. Detroit's only a game and a half out of the playoffs, and even though they're in 4th place in the Central, they're just 4.5 back. Houston lost the game to Texas in the standings. Toronto beat Houston 5-4 in 10. Meanwhile, Texas shut out the Giants 6-0, thanks to a 4-run third inning. So Texas tied for the final wild card spot and just a game and a half behind the Astros for the West Division lead. To the National League, Braves have now won 7 in a row. They beat the Marlins 4-1. You combine that with a 6-run 11th for the Nationals, who beat the Phillies 10-4 and 11. And Atlanta's lead just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I believe it's nearly double figures in the East. Milwaukee doubled up the Pirates 4-2. Pittsburgh fading in the wild card in the National League. They're just 4.5 games back. That's a lot because there's a lot of teams in between you and the playoffs. Meanwhile, Milwaukee's winning and the Dodgers losing. The Brewers have a 2.5 game lead for the number 1 seed in the National League. And we mentioned the Dodgers losing, and that's with Ohtani hitting 2 homers because PCA hit 2 homers. And the Cubs edged the Dodgers 7-6. 2 other games to tell you about. A's have lost 7 in a row. Do you know, Mark, if we're talking about the Pirates and the wild card 4.5 back, don't we have to mention Cincinnati and the wild card 5 back?
Perhaps. I think there's a couple of things right now. First off, the Diamondbacks have caught the Phillies. They're tied for the final wild card spot.
No, they're tied for the final 2. One's the 5, one's the 6.
Correct, but they're tied. I guess that's okay. Whether it's the 5th or 6th, they're tied. The Diamondbacks have caught the Phillies, so the Padres are the closest team. You know, the Phillies, in the way they're playing right now, they've been playing badly since the All-Star break. Badly. They were within, I think, 3.5 of the Braves at the All-Star break. They're now a distant second place in that division, 8.5 behind the Braves. So a couple of questions. You said to the National League, where do the Yankees finish? 1, 4, or 5 with the seed? Do the Phillies make the playoffs with the way things are going right now? And you're right. You got to talk about the Reds if you're going to talk about the Pirates. But man, oh man, the National League, the mediocre teams have fallen back, David. They really have. Yeah. And I think the Phillies have become one of those mediocre teams.
Well, that great 2-month stretch is carrying them, obviously. But where in the American League, some teams are rising up to contend. In the National League, the Marlins, first it was the Nationals, now it's the Pirates, all right? And who else is fading?
Well, the Cardinals have faded big time, and they're still 4 back. The Marlins have faded. The Pirates, the Reds, I mean, the Padres are the team that I'm most interested to see what they can do the rest of the way.
They're 2 back of both the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. Speaking of the Padres, they lost the deciding game of their series to the Diamondbacks. Arizona beat them 10-2. And with all the winning Arizona's been doing and losing the Dodgers are doing, hell, Arizona's closer to the Dodgers than the Phillies are to the Braves. They're only 8 back. So there you have it. Padres 2 out of the playoffs, Marlins 3.5, Cardinals 4, Pirates 4.5, Reds 5.
And the Braves, with their winning lately, and the Dodgers losing. The Braves are today a half game ahead of the Dodgers. They're the 2 seed.
Golf. LIV CEO Scott O'Neill. He came out and said they've secured the financing to stay in business next year. At least $250 million has been reported. We'll have Bob Harig on in less than 2 hours to talk about it. But the talk is 10 tournaments next year, 5 in the States, 5 internationally. It's why it was a big piece of news in the golf world that was very underreported when the Asian Tour, which was kind of sort of in business with LIV, when they decided to go into business with the PGA and DP World Tours, that was a blow to LIV's survival because they were making strides internationally. And now you wonder if the PGA Tour, via extension, is going to suck up those strides. PGA Tour, the Wyndham Championship, is the last event of the regular season. It's in Charlotte, and it gets underway, well, in a few minutes. Hall of Fame game, 8 o'clock tonight on NBC. Carolina and Arizona, games in Canton, Ohio. 8 o'clock NBC, Carolina, 1.5 point favorite. Carson Beck, the starter for Arizona. Other NFL news, Stephon Diggs announces he's going to sign with the Commanders, a 1-year deal for up to $12 million. And after 5 years of calling it the GEHA field, that field will now be called by what everybody calls it, Arrowhead. And literally that's why they didn't renew their sponsorship. After 5 years of spending big money, they realized nobody mentions us. All you guys do is call it Arrowhead, so why should we pay for it? Could have told you that 5 years ago. But by the way, John Harris told us on the show yesterday we were going to have some news yesterday in Houston Texans training camp. Wide receiver Tank Dell, who hasn't played since 2024, he was going to practice. First time on a football field in nearly 2 years. He's CJ Stroud's best friend on and off the field. We'll see if he's healthy enough to stick and to play. And Mark, since you're a lot more familiar with this than I am, take it away with horse racing and what's being kicked around.
I like that you went kicked around, but yesterday the Preakness Stakes announced that it's moving from its traditional date of the 3rd Saturday in May. It will be held on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend in 2027. It's the first time any Triple Crown race has ever been run on a Sunday. The Belmont has stayed with its same date for now. I would imagine that, Fox had the Belmont here. NBC keeps their relationship with the Derby and the Preakness. I would think whoever has the Belmont going forward is going to want to work on that date. But horse racing announced earlier this week that they are going to have a series. The Preakness was not included. It's a race for points and money. There are 6 races for 3-year-olds that start with the Derby and end in August. So keep an eye on what's happening in the horse racing world. And I'll say it for David, at 9 minutes before the hour, that was the starting 5. 5 big stories in horse racing that you needed to know. The live thing, you and I we pay more attention to live golf than anybody. I think it's when it started, David, you and I still worked for someone else. And the idea that golfers are independent contractors fascinated us because we work in a business that if you work for a company, you can't leave and go somewhere else across the street. So that part of it, I think we saw parallel. But I do find this interesting. We've secured funding, but we're not going to tell you who it's coming from. You have to wonder, is there Saudi money there that they don't want to talk about? Because, David, if Live Golf would have been sponsored by Mark Cuban, I don't think there would have been the backlash that there was towards this tour. I think the fact that it was Saudi Arabian money had everybody. This is blood money. It doesn't matter that Tom Brady goes over there and plays in a flag football event and gets paid. You don't care. But when you take something away from you, in essence, it bothers people. I mean, the Dubai tournament's been going on for years, and Rory plays in it. No one has a problem with that. But people really had a problem with where the money came from. And if he doesn't end up saying where the money comes from, is that a good thing for Liv, or are people going to keep digging until they find out who's flipping the bill for this?
Well, I don't understand why the people shelling out that kind of money don't want the publicity, why they agreed to go along with this plan of attack. I don't understand. But the funny thing is, and I know we're pressed for time, is that Cam Smith earlier this week, because they're at their final event of the year too, in Jersey at Trump's course, and Cam Smith was talking about how, yeah, I think the league's going under. 48 hours later, the CEO's going, no, we're good. Well, I'm not going to tell you why we're good and who's keeping us good, but we're good.
So right. Bob Harig coming up at 9 o'clock to talk about it. Phil Steele and the 8 o'clock hour. Antwan Staley next hour to talk the Jets. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Fantasy football season is here, and there's only one place to get the edge. Join Miller and Moulton for the Fantasy Football Summit with Dr. Roto at Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe, Tuesday, August 11th, 7 p.m. Get championship-winning draft strategies, sleeper picks, busts to avoid, and answers to all your fantasy questions from one of the nation's top experts, Dr. Roto. Whether you're playing for bragging rights or big money, don't draft without this event. Tuesday, August 11th, the Fantasy Football Summit at Shoeless Joe's with Dr. Roto. Sign up, Miller and Moulton. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Buying or selling a home? Put a local expert to work for you. I'm Mark Miller with McWilliams Buckley, and I believe real estate is about more than transactions. It's about helping people make the right move, from pricing your home to negotiating the best deal. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call or text me today, 239-425-5582. That's 239-425-5582. Experience, local knowledge, and a personal difference. That's what I'll bring to the table.
This is Miller and Moulton.
And happy I can put Bo in the top 2 running backs in college football history. Can't do it in the pros. Played for 4 years, for crying out loud. Come on. I mean, I love Bo. But what, did he play 4 years? How many games did he play? Do I got that right with 4 years? I think that's right. He played 38 games in his career. Come on. Don't you do that. Time for you to get out of here. Let's go. Let's beat it. Come on. Oh. I mean, Bo's like one of the greatest could-have-beens. Ambien, you need to calm down with your swearing at people for your takes on what you think's right. You're what, 25, 26 years old? You missed some of the greatest running backs that ever played when that's what dominated the league.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. 1 hour from Phil Steele to break down college football like nobody else in the business. It will be fast-paced. It will be a lot of information. It will be a full half hour with Phil Steele an hour from now. Looking forward to that. Antwan, Staley later this hour. Bob Harig in the 9 o'clock hour. The Hall of Fame game is tonight. Baseball, well, it's a lot of mediocrity. I mean, you've got 3 really good teams in the National League, and then you got a bunch of, well, I'll even go 4. The way the Cubs are playing now, to me, David, we can't discount the Cubs when we're talking about the best in the National League. But Arizona, I'm not sure what to think of them. Philadelphia, they've been lousy since the All-Star break, and the rest of the teams trying to catch Philadelphia and Arizona have been just scuffling along. The American League, the Rays are the best team for now. The Red Sox are red hot. Got a text on the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line of a Yankee fan that still has the faith. The Red Sox won't catch the Yankees, he says, and 50-50 the Yankees catch the Rays. I'm not so sure with the way that offense is producing. But there's nothing else in the American League that's frightening, scary. And I mean, Cleveland, the White Sox, the Astros can mash. I mean, I will say that. They can score runs, but they can't pitch. So the American League's still a crapshoot because until we get to the postseason, there's no reason to really trust the Rays, even though their record's the best in the American League. Football training camps going. Obviously, a little bit of golf news. So where do you want to go, David? Because there's, I don't know. This is like a lot of appetizers to me. We like to make food references. This is like the new, well, not new crave, but this is a tapas place. This is a bunch of really good appetizers, and I'm willing to order anything on the menu.
How about if I probably go with a few appetizers together?
Sure.
I'm right now, based on the standings, you and everyone else, and I'll throw in my 2 cents. So here's how the playoffs would shape out today. Tampa Bay and the White Sox would have the byes. Boy, what were those odds at the beginning of the year? Houston would be the 3. They'd win the West. Yankees are 4. Red Sox are 5. You tell me, Mark, Cleveland or Texas? They're tied for 6th right now. I don't know who owns the tiebreaker. It's based on regular season head-to-head.
Well, the way my standings are listed for the wild card, Texas is in front right now, even though the records are identical.
Okay.
Identical. So I mean, we'll say it's the Rangers just for now. I think Cleveland's I don't know. Which of those teams is more dangerous in a 3-game set? I mean, obviously, they both have a little bit of pitching. I think the pitching's deeper in Cleveland, like going through the bullpen, but
yeah. Also, Cleveland made 3 significant trades at the deadline. I do expect them to make a difference over a 50-plus game haul. So, I would lean Cleveland. But so 3-6 would be Houston and the Guardians.
To me, that's a fascinating series. It really is.
Right. Pitching against slugging.
Right.
Okay.
And which one can work 3 times, at the end of the day? Which one can work enough to get you to the next round?
Well, and remember, you only need to win 2. This is
best of 3. I would take Houston because their bats scare me, and I think they can get to the pitching enough because they've been able to get to everybody's pitching.
And I would take Cleveland for what it's worth. But the Yankees, Red Sox, again, in a wild card, best of 3.
Yeah, give me the Yankees.
Yankees will have all 3 games at the stadium, if you think that matters.
It doesn't matter, but I really don't think it matters. It matters maybe in this regard that, I don't know, they're both hitters' ballparks, but I'll take the Yankees pitching in a short series, David.
Now, remember, we're going by the standings as of today. Today, the Yankees are a half a game ahead of Boston. So we have to give them the nod for home field. So you decide how important you think that is, by the way, in a best of three. Right now, two teams separated by a half a game. Okay. Do you think that's literally the difference in the series? I don't. I think it's the Yankees starting pitching.
That's what I think too.
But we'll see. So I'll just go along with you to make it easier. Rays, Yankees. Rays with the best of five home field, 2-2-1. And then
You've got Chicago, Cleveland. I've got Chicago, Houston.
The White Sox would have home field, best of five, 2-2-1. I actually like the team coming out of the best of three in that series. I think the White Sox at some point have to come down to earth. And I think the White Sox in a short series against good pitching would lose.
David, I would bet against both teams that have home field. And if it's the Red Sox, I do the same thing.
Well,
prove it to me, Rays. Prove it that you can win in that spot, because you haven't shown me that you can.
Well, I'm on the wagon. You know that. I'm going Rays. And
you've got Guardians or Astros, but you picked the Guardians. So I am telling you, networks right now are chomping at the bit to get an ALCS with the Guardians and the Rays.
And obviously, they're going to be riding hard the winner of the Yankees-Red Sox series to go the distance, preferring it's the Yankees. So I got the Rays. You have it Yankees against Houston?
Yankees against Houston.
And I'm assuming you're going Yankees.
Yeah, I would go Yankees.
Okay.
I would. That's starting pitching to me. And here's the thing I'm banking on, David. By the time we're talking about all these series, I think they're going to be reasonably healthy. I think Judge is back in the lineup. I think Bellinger's back in the lineup. I've already said I don't care about Stanton, but if he's back, as you pointed out, he's pretty good in the postseason. And I'm banking on a lot of these players who are on the IL right now playing baseball when the postseason comes. And if that's the case, the Yankees are the best team in the American League. I've said that for a month.
To the National League. The 1 seed is Milwaukee. The 2 seed this morning is Atlanta because of the Dodgers' 6-game losing streak and the Braves' 7-game winning streak. So the Brewers and the Braves with the byes. And then the 3 seed is the Dodgers. Now, the 4 seed is the Cubs. And then, Mark, go by your standings list. Who's listed ahead of the other, Philly or San Diego?
No. Arizona or Philadelphia. Right now, Arizona's the 5 based on what I'm seeing. So I'm guessing just they've got them stacked because of the tiebreaker. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm merely going off the app that's in front of me. So the Diamondbacks would play against the Cubs, and the Dodgers would play the Phillies. And
yes.
Trey Turner and the Phillies will make as many errors as humanly possible, and the Dodgers will win that series.
By the way, tremendous pitching matchups in the Dodgers-Phillies series. Tremendous. Now, a difference in the pitching could be Diaz, who's coming back off injury for the Dodgers. When healthy the last 2 years, he's been arguably, well, not arguably, he's been a top 3 closer in baseball. So there you have it. Cubs, Diamondbacks, who wins? Cubs with home field, which means, by the way, in the first round, you get all 3 games.
The National League will be delicious because the Cubs will take out the Diamondbacks. And it doesn't matter in Dodgers, Phillies, but the Dodgers are better for baseball to win. That would give us the top 4 teams in the National League.
So you'd have Milwaukee face the Cubs, Nice little interdivisional thing. And then you'd have Braves, Dodgers.
And I'll take the Cubs because the Brewers haven't proven to me they can do it in the postseason. I know they got to the NLCS and almost took out the Dodgers a year ago. And I'll take the Dodgers over the Braves. When push comes to shove, the Dodgers are still the best roster. I don't know how you can legitimately pick against them.
Well, here's the one advantage that I think the Braves could have. Now, granted, it could change between now and then because they're only half a game ahead of the Dodgers. But the way it stands now, the Dodgers would have to play a first-round series and burn up at least 2, maybe 3 of their starters, which means the Dodgers for game 1 of the Braves series would be starting their number 3 or number 4 starter against Sale and the Braves in Atlanta. Big opportunity there for Atlanta to jump out to the early lead in the series. And we all know during the regular season, we don't think about the Braves and home field and, yeah, they show up, but they're kind of showing up just to do something on this night in Greater Atlanta. In the playoffs, that place is nuts. So, tell you what, Mark, I'm going with the surprise. I'm going Milwaukee, and I'm going Atlanta.
Well, I have the opposite.
Today.
I have the opposite. The television executives are patting me on the back and screaming at David Moulton.
Yes, they are.
Because the one team that they need is the Dodgers, and the one team they want out are the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yep. And I have the Brewers beating the Braves in a long series. And so, Mark, my World Series could cause mass layoffs, Rays, Brewers in the World Series.
Fantasy football season is here, and there's only one place to get the edge. Join Miller and Moulton for the Fantasy Football Summit with Dr. Roto at Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe, Tuesday, August 11th, 7 p.m. Get championship-winning draft strategies, sleeper picks, busts to avoid, and answers to all your fantasy questions from one of the nation's top experts, Dr. Roto. Whether you're playing for bragging rights or big money, don't draft without this event. Tuesday, August 11th, the Fantasy Football Summit at Shoeless Joe's with Dr. Roto. Sign up, Miller and Moulton.
The Floormeisters just doesn't sell CoreTech and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, if I watch the Hall of Fame game, it's for the pregame and the halftime when they're talking to the Hall of Famers. That probably interests me more than, because I think Tirico's really good as a play-by-play guy. No, none at all, Ryan. I just don't. These teams don't do anything for me, and so we'll see.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Antwan Staley coming up bottom of the hour. Phil Steele will join us at 8 o'clock for some college football talk. Bob Harig will be with us in the 9 o'clock hour to talk about the news on the Live Tour and some PGA Tour talk. There's been a lot of noise here in the last, I don't know, week and a half about what tournaments are going to be on what tour. Like, David, just quickly, because we got a lot of 34s to get to. 23, 34. We've been going through the best 34s. This is one of the great numbers in sports history. So I want to give it its due. But just quickly, David, I don't even know what the name of the damn tournament is in Charlotte anymore because it's changed names a bunch because banks change names and sponsors change names. But that's a big boy tournament. That probably stays on the top tier. But this tournament in Greensboro, North Carolina, the Wyndham, it has a lot of history. Is there any need for North Carolina to have two tournaments on the same, on the top tier of the tour? Because there's not to me.
I mean, you're taking a tournament out of Michigan and you're going to give North Carolina two? I mean, it's tough to justify. Biggest market between those two states is in Michigan. I mean, I thought we're trying to spread this tour around. I mean, you already got quite a few in California.
Right. Florida's still going to have a few. Texas, I think, only gets one. So I am curious with Bob to go there. But I do want to get to the 34s, David, because, I've got like 34s that I like that I can't even really mention because we don't have enough time. In basketball, baseball, there's great 34s in football. We'll save that till the end. I'll start with where there's only two that I saw. Hope I'm not missing anybody. One of them's one of your guys. Another one won't be in this town for very long. Starting hockey, John Van Beesbrook, Ranger netminder for a lot of years, terrific player, and Austin Matthews. Those are two pretty good 34s to get the ball rolling. I'll go baseball next because I think the 34s in basketball are a little better. But at the top of the list, there are three guys for me, David, and I think there's a lot of really good honorable mentions. And I don't know who I'd put first here. I'm sorry, 4 34s. Fernando Valenzuela, Nolan Ryan, Kirby Puckett, David Ortiz. That's the A-list. There's some, Felix Hernandez, pretty damn good. Dave Stewart, that's what he wore with the Athletics. Pretty damn good. Raleigh Fingers. David, is he the first big-time reliever? You're a baseball historian better than me, but in my mind, he's the first big closer that I remember.
Yes, because it was early 70s that he and the A's won 3 in a row. So he was the first dominant closer, yes.
A.J. Burnett wore 34. Kerry Wood, pretty good player, wore 34. And just for me, I'm sneaking him in, David. I don't even know if it deserves honorable mention, but Chet Lemon wore 34 for the team.
At least it's better than you going somebody else. I thought you were going to go. So, all right. Yeah, I love, that's, as a Tiger fan, You get to throw out Chet
All
Lemon.
right, all right. I loved him. All right, here's my three. I'm going to start with the honorable mentions in hoop. Austin Carr, just because he could score, and I loved him. Terry Cummings, really good player. And the X-Man, Xavier McDaniel. These are honorable mentions, okay? This isn't the A-list. I'm just letting you know. Because the A-list, I'll start at the bottom. Do you want to go Paul Pierce or Giannis as the bottom? 4 or 5? You put them in whatever order you want, David.
Yeah, I'd probably go Giannis and then Pierce ahead of him.
Okay, and maybe by the end, if he were to do something in Miami,
Yeah.
it could get closer to a tie. And then third, and it ain't close, is Charles Barkley. 1 and 2, you could argue over. But Barkley's third on this list. And then there are a couple of big men that, depending on who you talk to, would be how they would rank these two. You can rank them however you want. Shaquille O'Neal and Hakeem Olajuwon. Go. Go. Because there's not a big man that had better footwork than Hakeem. There isn't. And Shaq was a game changer in the way that he played basketball. So I think I'd go Shaq Hakeem, but if you told me I was wrong, I'm not saying I'd argue with you.
When you say I'd go Shaq Hakeem, does that mean Shaq won?
Yeah, Shaq 1, Hakeem 2. And if you told me I was wrong, you could present your case and change my mind.
Yeah, that's how I would go. Because for as awesome, amazing, spectacular that Hakeem was, peak Shaq, about 7 years of Shaq. Yeah, we ain't never seen nothing like that. I mean,
And then,
oof.
right. And then football. And by the way, I think basketball wins this, and I don't think it's close. And there's some damn good 34s in football. But I'll take as the top 3, Hakeem, Shaq, Barkley, over the baseball 3, and there's nothing in hockey, but over the football 34s as well. And this is a pretty good list. So, I think we all know who number 1 is here. Sweetness. That's number 1.
Certainly in the NFL.
That's what I mean. Sweetness is number 1 in the NFL. Now, you and I think for number 2 may be in agreement here. I don't know. But Earl Campbell would be my number 2 here. And that's putting him ahead of some pretty good players.
He didn't play very long, so
no.
I'm curious who else you have.
Well, Thurman Thomas.
Yeah, I'd put Thurman ahead of Earl Campbell. He played twice as long, and he was a force until the very end.
Okay. And then, for you Dolph fans, Ricky wore 34. Pretty good, but doesn't make doesn't make, to me, the top of the list. Bo wore 34, but he only played for 4 seasons. He played 38 games. He was amazing. But, in the what could have been category, because running backs were dominant then.
Yeah, that's, to me, that's the biggest what if.
In sports history, right?
To me, it is, because he could have done it in 2. He ran up a wall, for goodness sake.
Right. Herschel.
Yeah, who had a terrific all-around career.
Really did.
His numbers, you look at him and go, damn, that's Hall of Fame worthy. He ain't never getting in, but they're really good.
So the football, that to there's some other good football players that wore it.
Sure.
I'm kind of going through the list of what I have in front of me. Ray Buchanan wore it for Atlanta. He was really good. But, there's not amazing players here. And I know someone brought up Ray Allen. He did wear it with the Heat hoop. He didn't wear it everywhere. So that's kind of a couple of different numbers guy. But I think I'll stack the Hakeem, Shaq, Barkley 3 up against the 3. And I mean, the football ones, I mean, Thurman Thomas, Walter Payton, and you pick who you want third there. I'd go Earl Campbell. That's a pretty damn good threesome of running backs right there. I mean, I loved Earl Campbell. So that's where I'd go. 34 days until the start of the National Football League season.
Could I just throw this out there? I know it's pro is 34, but college 34, Bo or Herschel? Think about it.
Yes. Antwan Staley next.
Fantasy football season is here, and there's only one place to get the edge. Join Miller and Moulton for the Fantasy Football Summit with Dr. Roto at Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe, Tuesday, August 11th, 7 p.m. Get championship-winning draft strategies, sleeper picks, busts to avoid, and answers to all your fantasy questions from one of the nation's top experts, Dr. Roto. Whether you're playing for bragging rights or big money, don't draft without this event. Tuesday, August 11th, the Fantasy Football Summit at Shoeless Joe's with Dr. Roto. Sign up, Miller and Moulton.
Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hey, Maddie. David, can you hear me all right? Talk to me quick.
32321.
That's all I needed. Thank you. Come on, don't do this to me today.
Twenty-two minutes before the hour. Welcome back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Along with the New York, coming up at the top of the hour for the best half hour of college football that we can pretty much produce all year, and Phil does all the work. He just recites his Phil Steele college football preview. And the information is the gold. And we'll see who he thinks about not only the big schools in Florida, but surprise teams. Phil's good about that. We'll talk to Phil about it coming up. Bob Harig, to wrap up our show, talking not only the PGA Tour, but so apparently Mark Canizaro's story in the New York Post last week was accurate.
Antwan, Staley.
He's the only one who said that the LIV was going to find the money and they were going to stay in business. We'll talk to Bob Harig about the LIV sticking around coming up. Antwan Staley, as advertised, New York Daily News. Follow him on X at Antwan Staley. Antwan, David, and Mark, hope training camp's treating you well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Well, we're doing fine. How much better do they look this year at this time compared to last year?
It's hard to say. Obviously they finished 3-14, but it's a lot of questions. Is it going to come down to how Geno Smith plays? I mean, he's been up and down. He's had some good camps. He's had some okay practices too as well. But yeah, it's going to be determined really the way he plays because we're talking about a guy that former Pro Bowler, coming at Player of the Year, but the last couple of years have been a lot to be desired. I mean, he's thrown 31 interceptions during that time, and then had a really bad stint with the Raiders last year. So yeah, I think it's going to come down to just really basically the quarterback position. But I think they surrounding him. They've done a good job, especially getting Omar Cooper Jr. in the draft, King and Sadiq, although he's dealing with a hernia setback right now. But yeah, I mean, they have improved the team around them, but I'm not necessarily sure how much better the Jets are going to be considering the division that they play in and really the questions surrounding the quarterback position.
All right. One of the things I've been reading, I'm curious your thoughts. David Bailey, the kid they drafted up top, players talking about how good he is. He's in the backfield all the time already. Your thoughts on their first overall pick?
I mean, he looks like everything that was advertised. I mean, he's demonstrating the speed, power, getting around, creating havoc on the offensive line. I mean, for the offensive line on the Jets too. So yeah, I think he's going to be really, really good. I think he has a chance to be a defensive rookie of the year candidate there. I mean, if you saw him at Texas Tech, it really should surprise you. He led the league, led the FBS in sacks last year. One of the best defensive players, and looking every bit of it so far in Jets camp. So yeah, I definitely think they have a good building block for like foundation building around the pass rusher like that.
Well, and Antwan, they've got skilled players. Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, the two tight ends,
Not
Mason
enough
Taylor.
of them.
What?
Not enough. I don't think they have enough. I don't think they have enough of them. Like I really, I think they've improved in that area, but there's still some questions there. I mean, again, Sadiq is hurt right now. Mason Taylor does have some potential, but he's still really young. Really, it's going to come down to Garrett and Brees too. But yeah, they have a better collection of them than they did a year ago. But I don't know if they have enough of them. Like it's still a lot of questions with AD Mitchell. Really, the rest of the team around them. I do like the Tim Patrick signing. I think that'll be a good depth signing on the wide receiver core. But yeah, I don't know if they have enough to really, especially compete in the AFC East where you got to go against Buffalo and New England 4 times a year.
Well, and I mean, I don't think anybody's expecting them to win the division or be a playoff contender, but give me an area where you see this team being significantly better than it was a year ago.
Well, it can be a lot worse. So
Right.
I'll say that. Defensively, I would say I think they could be average. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but I like obviously we talked about Bailey too as well. I feel like they've gotten a little bit better as far as run defense there. They were one of the worst run defensive teams last year. I think they were kind of 29 for 30 in that area. So getting a guy like Taronjay Sweat, also Daryl Jackson Jr., who they drafted as well. I think that'll help them beef up that defensive line too as well. And, they finished with 0 interceptions last year and 4 takeaways. So, again, I would imagine that's going to increase there. I don't know how much is going to increase, but it's unfathomable if they would have finished with 0 interceptions and 4 takeaways once again. So I think they'll be a little bit better on the defensive end.
Antwan Staley, New York Jets. It's the team he covers on a regular basis, also covers the NFL at large for the New York Daily News. Follow him on X at Antwan Staley, Staley. So how much of last year was on Aaron Glenn? Because, you only see so much on the sidelines. You hear so much during the week in interviews. He seemed lost. Was he?
I mean, yeah, he looked like every bit of a first-year head coach. And, I mean, that's to be expected. You're going to make mistakes from time to time. I think even if you go back to Dan Campbell in his first year in Detroit, he definitely made some mistakes too as well. They ended up going 3-13-1 before they turned it around his second year, finishing 9-8. So Aaron Glenn is hoping for a similar type of finish in his second year with the Jets too as well. But yeah, I think a lot of it was on him, just some of the mistakes that he made, being cankerous at times with the media, just in-game decisions. So I guess if you want to put a percentage on it, I guess you'd say, 70-80% there. I mean, and a lot of it is also the fact that I don't think they had a lot of, leadership in that locker room. They were the 3rd youngest team in the NFL. I really think that they thought they were just going to have a youth movement and, the team was going to start to create some building blocks for the future, and that just never happened. But yeah, it was a lot of it was on Aaron Glenn and just some of the decision making or lack thereof that he made. And I think one of the big blunders is the fact that he decided not to call plays at all. He deferred that to Steve Wilson. That turned out to be a complete disaster last year, and ended up firing him, with 3 games left in the season. So yeah, I think a big part of what happened last year is on Aaron Glenn, and I think that's why so much pressure on him going into the 26th season.
All right, define that pressure for us as best you can, Antwan, because I think we're all in agreement that after last year, he's already on a bit of a hot seat. What does it take? What do we need to see out of the Jets for Aaron Glenn to be back for a 3rd year, if you know what I mean?
I mean, well, for one, don't get blown out by 23 points in your last 5 games of the season. So I think that would start. You can start there. it's hard to say how much pressure is because we haven't spoken to Woody Johnson in a long time, so nobody knows what he's thinking. Although I've heard reports and talking with people saying he was not happy with the way the season ended, and how could he be? I mean, the Jets are already low hanging fruit anyway, but to just get flat out embarrassed like that, yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on you. So yeah, they got a tough stretch to open up the season. They play Tennessee, which is going to be a Robert Saleh kind of revenge game. Like I'm sure he wants to drive the Jets down in the dirt and make them irrelevant like they have been the last few years. So if they lose against Tennessee and then you're really going to start to see everything start to heat up as far as Aaron Glenn's hot seat, because they got Green Bay, Detroit, and Chicago back 3 in a row after that before they come back home to host the Browns in Week 5. So it's vital that they get off to a really good fast start, because if they start 0-4 going back home in Week 5, I think you're going to really hear some whispers and fans being angry that they want Aaron Glenn fired. And I think you already kind of hear a little bit of that rumblings now, even, in training camp.
What's the strength of this team going to be?
I think it has to be the offensive line, because I think, you have 2 bookend tackles in Olu Fashanu and also Amon Membu that you can really build on and really get that ground game going. Breece Hall had his first 1,000-yard season last year, and I expect him to probably do that once again. He's probably going to need to. So I think having that really 2 strong tackles and on the outside really helps too as well. And I think Joe Tippmann had a really solid year at right guard last year. So if you're looking for a strength for the team, I think it has to be that offensive line, just simply because you have 2 building blocks there that continue to get better.
Antwan, how worried are you about Sadiq? And I know he's going to play, and I know this is a setback. Was it a hernia operation? But it's important, at least to me, for a rookie to get as many reps as possible. There are so many different ways this young man could be used, and missing this time is critical for him to get adjusted on how to line up. I mean, just all the little nuance of what being in the NFL is. How worried are you about Sadiq's development this year because he's missing a chunk of training camp?
Yeah, it's concerning, except because he missed a big part of the spring too because he had the injury. So he's already behind in that sense, and now he's behind in training camp. And if he misses a month or even longer heading into the regular season, is he going to be ready for Week 1? It's going to be hard to say. So yeah, I definitely think it's a little bit concerning, especially considering where you took him, because you take somebody 16, you expect them to play immediately. Although again, they have Mason Taylor who can fill in. They do have some depth there with Jeremy Rucker, who they also signed to an extension last December. But you want to get your skilled playmakers out there, and especially a guy like Sadiq, who not only is a tremendous blocker, but he can also stretch the defense with his speed and his toughness and just the way he's built, from a physical standpoint. But yeah, if you want him to contribute early, it's definitely going to be really concerning there. So he needs to get back on the field sooner rather than later, because otherwise, if he misses a month or even longer, it's going to be hard for him to contribute in Week 1 or even Week 2 and beyond.
Antwan, as always, appreciate your time and insight. Hope Florham Park is treating you well, and look forward to catching up right around the start of the season.
All right, sounds good. Y'all take it easy.
Thanks, Antwan. Ooh,
Antwan Staley. You can follow him on X at Antwan, Antwan, Staley, Staley.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't. I should have indicated. I just had one more. I needed to know what if he was going to make it back to Greenville, North Carolina, for one of those Friday night games, maybe, because the bye for the Jets doesn't come until December. Late bye for the Jets. I thought what he mentioned there. They start with Tennessee. It's a big game for Saleh. It's 2 bad teams. Someone's got to win. But then they run through what are perceived to be the 3 best in the NFC North. They get Chicago, Green Bay, and Detroit. Back to back to back. You don't get Tennessee 0-4 staring you right in the face, David.
Yeah, but then again, what if they can just win the games against bad teams? What if they're 1-3 and then they beat Cleveland? Then, because to me, I think he's got to get to 6.
Well, obviously they get Miami twice. They host the Raiders. They play at Arizona. I mean,
Okay, let's say a split with the Dolphins, because division teams often do that, good ones or bad ones. And then,
They
you know,
beat Cleveland and the Raiders at home. So that gives them 4
on,
if they get Tennessee.
yeah. Well, that's 5. Tennessee, Arizona on the road, Vegas and Cleveland at home, split with the Dolphins. That's 5.
Yeah, okay. Your other last place team you get's actually Detroit, not Minnesota. They got the Vikings on their schedule too. So, I mean, they're playing the AFC West and the NFC North. Good luck.
Yep.
Good luck. So, he's right. You know, what I found interesting that he said, though, where's the strength of the team? The offensive line? Well, if that's the case, you've got a legitimate running back.
Yeah.
I mean, this should make life a lot easier. I mean, think about Geno last year and the offensive line he dealt with.
Well,
Didn't Genty have like the most? His yards after contact were through the roof because he was hitting the backfield more than I think any other back in the league last year.
well, also Chip Kelly and the offensive staff, the stories that came out of there were brutal. And so he's going to be better coached this year. The line's going to be far better than the Raiders line, which was bottom
Yeah.
league. So, but he's got to take care of the ball. I mean, obviously you can't win with turnovers, but you can't even compete if you're a bad team with turnovers.
And remember, we know the Jets are going to intercept more balls this year than they did a year ago.
Right.
That's the one prediction I feel very confident in saying on this show. Miller and Moulton. Phil Steele coming up on the other side. The best there is in college football. And he's next on Miller and Moulton.
Fantasy football season is here, and there's only one place to get the edge. Join Miller and Moulton for the Fantasy Football Summit with Dr. Roto at Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe, Tuesday, August 11th, 7 p.m. Get championship-winning draft strategies, sleeper picks, busts to avoid, and answers to all your fantasy questions from one of the nation's top experts, Dr. Roto. Whether you're playing for bragging rights or big money, don't draft without this event. Tuesday, August 11th, the Fantasy Football Summit at Shoeless Joe's with Dr. Roto. Sign up, millerandmoulton.com.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller and Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller and Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest, now try the best. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I hope John gave him the right number. I just reached out to him on X, and I know he's promoted it, so I know he'll look at X because he did a year ago. So
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, the 8 o'clock hour. Phil Steele coming up in a matter of moments. Talking college football, we had Antwan Staley moments ago, and we'll have Bob Harig coming up in just a moment.
Phil Steele, of course, the magazine. People have already gotten it. Some are excited that they're getting it today or tomorrow. We'll ask him as many questions as we can. We'll give him an opportunity to pump his book because he gives us a half an hour of his time every year. Bob Harig, 1 hour from now, LIV apparently still around, and lots of news on the PGA Tour. But time for Phil Steele, author of the best college football magazine preseason preview. He does it not just for Division 1A, but also for FCS. Follow him on X at Phil Steele. That's 2 E's, L, and an E, and 042. Phil Steele 042 on X. Phil, it's David and Mark. Good to talk to you once again. Before we get going, quickly, how can people get your magazine?
Well, I appreciate that. Now, if you're out driving around, there's only 2 places you can go to get it. Barnes & Noble or Books A Million are the only 2 brick-and-mortar stores to get it. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or you could go online to philsteele.com. And at philsteele.com, if you order the magazine, I'm going to charge you a shipping charge, cost to ship things, but we do give you the digital magazine absolutely free. We also have a 2-page per team FCS magazine available online. That's at philsteele.com. The magazine, by the way, 376 pages this year, 2 full pages on all 138 teams.
Over 30 years, Phil Steele's college football preview. Look, nobody buys magazines anymore, and he's got it at 2 bookstores. Do you know why? Because people buy this one. All right, Phil, so much to get to. I don't want to waste any time. I want to start in the state of Florida, and I know Miami made the title last year. Florida State's doing what they're doing, but I'm fascinated on what you think about the Gators. My worry for them is their offensive line. I like their skill guys. I like everything the new coaches had to say. But when you look at the Gators, what is it you see heading into this year?
Yeah, I think when you look at Florida, big plus in the hire of John Summerall coming in. That's I think he's going to get this thing turned around. To me, the biggest question mark might be quarterback position. It's Aaron Philo or T.J. Jones, whoever's going to take the job. Now, I know their new offensive coordinator, Buster Faulkner, really likes Aaron Philo. We'll see how that works out. I like Jaden Baugh, Vernell Brown, Baugh at running back, Brown at wide receiver. So they do have the skill position players. The offensive line looks pretty good. You got a left tackle coming in from Stanford and Emeka Gurgi, and he's a NFL caliber guy. Defensively, there's talent. There's talent all throughout this Florida team. Probably the biggest concern is the schedule. They play the 10th toughest schedule in the country. They have to go on the road and face Auburn, Missouri, Texas, Georgia, and Florida State all away from home, as well as host Oklahoma and Ole Miss. But I think Summerall's going to get this thing turned around and get it back to a winning season this year.
We think the Florida-Auburn game is the key game for both teams because they both have challenging schedules, and we think they're of comparable talent. Do you see that as, I agree with that.
Great minds think alike. That's exactly how I look at it. I think it's a pivotal game for both teams. Alex Golish is another outstanding hire for a first-year head coach. He brings over with him Byron Brown from South Florida. This guy had over 3,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing. He inherits Jeremiah Cobb at running back. Now, they do have some question marks on the offensive line, a lot of question marks on the O-line. I think Florida's got the edge on the offensive line. Defensively, they're strong. As we know, the last couple of years, Auburn's been able to knock off anybody in the country. They've also been able to lose to anybody in the country. That'll get corrected with Alex Golish coming in. A massive game. Now, it's always tough to win in Jordan-Hare. So that's got to give a slight edge to Auburn just for the home field advantage, but a massive game for both teams early on.
Let's talk the Canes in the ACC, Phil. Mensah looks like he's the real deal. They obviously have Tony at receiver, who's a world-class athlete. This to me is the year that Miami finally takes complete control of the ACC. Is there any reason why they shouldn't?
You know, they look like the most talented team in the ACC. And the amazing stat, and I write it every year in a magazine, and it's still true. They joined the ACC in 2004, and they have yet to win an ACC title. I mean, when they joined, you were thinking they were going to win it every other year, and have yet to win a single one. But they are loaded. And they came within one play, basically, of winning the national title last year. I think Mensa could be an improvement over Carson Beck. You return a guy like Mark Fletcher at running back and Malachi Toney, who I think is a legitimate Heisman candidate because he can hurt you receiving, running, throwing. I mean, he threw 7 passes last year and in the return game. Then you add in a Cooper Barkate from Duke, their leading receiver. That's a loaded offense. So if you have one question with Miami this year, it's the offensive line. But Mario Cristobal is the head coach. I've been talking to Coach Cristobal since his days back at Florida International, and he will always produce a top-notch O-line. He has every year he's been a head coach. So I have no problems that he will do that again this year. And if that's the case, this team's loaded. I know they lose both Bain and Messidor off the defensive end spot, but they're very solid up front. I rate them the number 6 D-line in the country. Secondary's got 4 NFL caliber guys with Xavier Lucas, Frederic Fitzgerald, and Poyser. And when you look at the schedule, the only game I've got them an underdog all year is at Notre Dame. His 3 top contenders in the ACC are probably SMU, Clemson, and Louisville. But Miami clearly has the best talent in the ACC and should be back in the playoff.
Are any of those 3 legitimate playoff teams, not contenders, but teams? Because a lot of times the second-tier teams stumble late to cost themselves that big game. Can you honestly project one of those 3 teams being good enough to get an at-large?
I think the possibility exists, but in a 12-team playoff, you got to think 4 SEC, potentially 4 Big Ten, Notre Dame, 1 ACC, 1 Big 12, and then 1 non. It's going to be tough for a second ACC team to slip in because, frankly, the SEC and the Big Ten are the 2 best conferences. They both play in a 9-game schedule, which is tough. And I think if you add it all up, it's going to be tough for either the ACC or the Big 12 to get a second team in. Of the 3, I think SMU has the best chance if they survive those 2 early tests. They have to play at Florida State. We saw what Florida State did early against Alabama last year. They also have to play at Louisville early. If they were to come out of that 3-0, then I think SMU would have a chance of sneaking into the playoff because the only game to be an underdog is at Notre Dame.
They play Notre Dame in November. All right. In the SEC, you kind of have a tie for first in the magazine, Georgia and Texas, but you have Georgia on top. Does Georgia, do they have enough talent to be the team? Because they're a pretty young team, even though they got a lot of guys with experience from a year ago. Texas, they've spent all the money, Arch Manning. When you look at the toss-up between Texas and Georgia, what is it that separates them, if anything, to you, Phil?
I'm just going to go with the slight edge for Kirby Smart. Been there, done that. He's gotten 1 national titles, and he just keeps winning the SEC each and every year. And they are a homegrown team and an experienced team this year. And what I mean by homegrown is you recruit freshmen, bring them along as sophomores, juniors, seniors. And I did a article, and I've got rankings in the magazine this year for homegrown teams. You use the transfer portal, but you don't rely on the transfer portal. The majority of your team is recruited as freshmen, so you're more of a team atmosphere, and that's Georgia throughout. In fact, they're number 4 in the country on my homegrown list, only behind the 3 service academies. You look at their defense; they're very experienced. I know they were young last year, and they're said to be young in some areas. I don't see this as that. They're an experienced squad. They've got back on the defense. They've got 6 starters back on defense from last year, 6 starters on offense. I think Gunnar Stockton is a underdog Heisman candidate. This guy's great in big games. He's got a 16-2 ratio versus ranked teams. Great on 4th down, great in the 4th quarter. They've got a solid run game with Nate Frazier, Chauncey Bowens. Offensive line, I rate 7th in the country. They've got outstanding tight ends. You look at them defensively, I rate their defensive line number 9, linebackers number 5, DBs number 3, and even the special teams are in my top 5. This is a loaded Georgia team, and I think you get Kirby Smart, get him past that bye week. The bye week has been a tough thing to overcome. There's been 8 teams that have had a bye week in the playoff. 7 of them have lost. Kirby's lost twice in that situation. I was talking to Coach McGuire at Texas Tech, and he said that one of his biggest off-field or off-season concerns was preparing for the bye week in the playoff, how to overcome that, sitting for 3-4 weeks where your opponent just played last week. Now, at Texas, they are loaded as well, and you're going to see a much better Arch Manning this year. I thought Manning improved as the season went on last year, especially late in the season. Last year, his offensive line had just one returning starter. This year, it's a much more veteran offensive line. Last year, his top running back only had 597 yards. They bring in a 1,000-yard rusher in Hollywood Smothers from NC State, 1,000-yard rusher from Arizona State in Raleek Brown. You look at the receiving core, they've got Ryan Wingo back, but they add in Cam Coleman. So a much better supporting cast for Arch. I think they have my number 3 rated offense. They also have my number 8 rated defense this year. You look at the linebackers and the front 7. Both of those units rank in my top 5. Secondary should be strong. And I think Texas is a legitimate, not only SEC, but national title contender. The difference to me was that Kirby Smart's won national titles before and probably has just a little bit more experienced team this year.
Bill, less than a minute till we take a break, and then we will continue during the break for those on Twitch and YouTube. Texas Tech, is it the same deal as Miami in the ACC? They're head and shoulders above everybody else.
I do think BYU is close to them this year. Now, and a lot of folks ask me, they say, Phil, do you still like Texas Tech now that Sorsby's not there? And when I wrote the magazine, I was 90% sure Sorsby was not going to be there. So it surprised me when they ruled that he was. I had to readjust my power ratings and readjust them back to where I had them. Tech's going to be at least a 7-point favorite in every game. Toughest road games are at Cincinnati and at Baylor. But watch BYU. Talking to Coach Satake, I've talked to him all 11 years. After I hung up the phone, I'm like, and I even told him, I said, this is the best team you've had in your 11 years. They're massive on the offensive line, defensive line, veteran quarterback in Bear Bachmeier, outstanding running back in L.J. Martin. When you look at BYU, this is his best team he's had, and I think that they've got a shot at Texas Tech in that Big 12 title game. So both teams are legitimate playoff contenders.
He's Phil Steele, the Phil Steele College Football Magazine preview. It's the best in the business. One more segment with Phil coming up on the other side. We'll continue on YouTube and Twitch next. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Well, Phil, as always, you know how much we appreciate this. It's probably my favorite 30 minutes of the year to talk to you. So I want to get to a few teams. We've got our Twitch and YouTube audience that pile in to hear this. Let's do some teams we probably won't do for the radio audience. Florida State. I'm curious, are they even going to be bowl eligible, Phil?
That's going to be the key. And, you look at Florida State last year, they were better than their final record would indicate. They were plus 76 yards per game in conference play, more indicative of a 6-2 team. They had 3 net close losses. And early on, remember, they had the overtime. They were 4-0. They had the 3-0. They had lost the overtime game, the 6-point game, 3 and a 7-point game. I like the talent they brought in. Retaining Deuce Robinson was huge. Having Pabst and Chaplin on the offensive line, a couple NFL guys, is solid. I think they have talent. Now, with the Norvell on the hot seat hanging over their heads, if they don't get off to a good early start, what do? Do they fire Norvell early? I don't know. But they did make my most improved list, so I think they get to a bowl game this year. Will that be enough to keep Norvell is a big question.
Yeah, that is the question. I know some Florida State people that are like, don't go to a bowl, so I know we get rid of this guy and move on. And that's, that's a tough thing as a fan. All right, UCF, it's almost the same question to me because they've got to get to a bowl. They joined the Big 12 and the expectations were pretty high, but I don't know if they've lived up to them because the offensive line, or defensive line, and they lost a first-round pick on the D-line. Teams can run right through them, and you've got to be able to stop the run when you play big boy football. I think they can get to 7, Phil. Do you?
Yeah, I do this year. My conversation with Coach Frost last year, going over the roster with him, I send my team pages with all the players on this thing and all my notes on every player and all the stats on every player. And I say, okay, give me your thoughts. And I would be like, okay, Coach, what about this guy? He's like, Phil, I haven't seen him yet. He comes in the summer. Phil, I haven't seen him yet. He comes in the summer. They brought in like 35 players in the spring portal window. So it was a completely rebuilt team last year. Still got to 5-7. Now this year, the big thing is no second spring portal window. All these guys were in for the spring. That's a big plus. They go from number 113 in my experience chart up to number 41. I really like the addition of Alonzo Barnett coming in from James Madison, who led his team to the playoff last year. If you watch Barnett, they didn't run him a lot early. He was coming off injury. He ran a lot late in the year. He should be 100% this year and dangerous. And the defense does look solid. I like Isaiah Nixon up front on the defensive end. Sincere Edwards also. Last year, they did only give up 3.9 yards per carry. 3 starters back in the secondary. I've got them getting to the 7 wins this year and having a much better year.
Okay, that's good news for them. South Florida, obviously a great year last year, and because of it, goalish, and most of the teams now in Auburn. Hartline comes in. I was very impressed that South Florida was able to get him. I mean, Big Ten teams wanted him. He chose South Florida. This is, I would think, a lot like your conversation with Frost a year ago because there are so many new players, and they're going to have a little bit of a learning curve, rather. When you look at South Florida, can they contend in the AAC? Because you've got UTSA that's pretty good. There's a couple of teams on top, Tulane. So can they contend in that conference, or is it going to be a rebuild this year?
I think it's a rebuild this year. I mean, and by rebuild, I don't mean 3 or 4 wins. I mean, they're not going to get to 9 wins like they did last year, but I think they can have a solid year. They've got the NIL money, which is huge, but they go from number 14 on the experience chart down to number 95. They lose a quarterback in Byron Brown, who had 3,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing last year. I think he was only like the 8th or 9th player in NCAA history to do that. They do have to play Army on the road, UTSA on the road, East Carolina, Florida Atlantic on the road. They're going to have a decent year, but I don't think they are a legitimate contender. I think the top 3 teams in the American are Navy, UTSA, and Tulane this year. The next level would be East Carolina, Army, Memphis, and then USF. But a good year, but not up to last year's 9-4. And let's keep in mind the previous 6 years, or that 9-win total was actually the highest since 2017. I don't think they get there this year.
All right, there's our commercial break with Phil Steele. We ran through the Florida teams. We go live back on the radio world in about 10 seconds. So for all of you that jumped in, YouTube and Twitch, glad that you did. And we certainly appreciate Phil Steele. So now time to do some more radio.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. We continue on with Phil Steele during the break. For those of you that don't join us on Twitch and YouTube, don't get upset that you didn't hear about Florida State, UCF, and South Florida. We went through the 3 Florida teams during the break. Our final segment with Phil, I do want to get to some more of the big boys. You mentioned the playoff, 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, and that could very well be right. Everybody knows about the big 3 in the Big Ten, Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State. When you look at who that 4th team is, Penn State's got a light schedule with Campbell and a new coach, and they've got the 3 big games. If they get one, they're a 10-2 team. A lot of expectations for USC. Michigan, a new coach, another year with Thunderwood. When you look at that 4th Big Ten team, who do you see it being?
I'm going with USC this year. And talking to Coach Riley, he feels this is the best defense he's had in his 5 years here. He brings in Gary Patterson as defensive coordinator and has a lot of talent back from last year's squad. I do think it's the best defense he's had since he's been here. He's got my number 5 rated offensive line. I'm on the Joe Moore Award. I have the offensive line is a big thing for me, and they are veteran there. They've got Jaden Maeva back at quarterback. Coach Riley feels he's going to be a first-round pick at the end of the year if things go well. You look at the running back core. Last year they were all banged up. The walk-on King Miller emerged, had nearly 1,000 yards. They get Wayman Jordan back. They have returned King Miller, and they add in a couple of VHD True Frost, and they always develop a solid receiver. Look at their schedule. They host Oregon and host Ohio State. If they win one of those 2 games, and they were 7-0 at home last year, if they win one of those 2 games, they make the playoff. And keep in mind, last year when they traveled to Oregon and played the Ducks in Autzen Stadium, had they won that game, they would have made the playoff last year. I think getting those 2 teams at home, give them that shot this year. I'm going with the Trojans.
Is there a surprise team for you? And it doesn't have to be surprise as in they qualify for the playoff. But is there a Big Ten team who lately has been winning 4 or 5 games and this year you think wins 8 or 9?
I would have to, 4 or 5 games, I don't see that. But getting up to the 8 or 9 win total, I can see that. And I'm going to say a team like maybe Nebraska. Nebraska's last year had high expectations, got to 7-3, and then got blown out in their final 3 games. But they're much better at the quarterback position. Anthony Calandria was outstanding at UNLV last year. He was the Mountain West Player of the Year. They've got TJ Lateef, who was thrown into the fire last year, did well at UCLA, and then played Penn State, Iowa, and Utah's defense in 3 losses. He'll be better as a sophomore. I like the fact they have a mobile quarterback now under the Dana Holgerson offense. They're going to open up the year 5-0. Then their schedule gets rough. They haven't beat a ranked team since 2016. I'm going to call for them to beat a ranked team or 2 this year and have a much better year.
All right. Notre Dame. The schedule, not great. They play 3 games. They play BYU, they play SMU, they play Miami. But from a talent standpoint, Phil, I don't know how many teams have a better roster than the Irish. I'm thinking they might be not only a national title contender, but they may be playing in that final game. When you look at Notre Dame, what do you see?
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. And, I'm a defensive guy, and you look at Notre Dame's defense last year, they held opponents to 95 yards per game below their average. This year, they got 9 starters back on defense. They got my number 5 rated defensive line, number 1 set of linebackers, number 1 DBs. I think they got the best defense in the country. I mentioned them on the Joe Moore Award. I've got them rated the number 1 offensive line in the country. 4 NFL guys coming back, and Craig, Jagasaw, Knapp, and Lambert. They are loaded there. How about quarterback? C.J. Carr was a redshirt freshman last year. Now he's a sophomore. Last year he had a 24-6 ratio. He's a Heisman contender. You look at the receiving core. I like Jordan Faison. They added in 2 Ohio State receivers, Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter. Jaden Greathouse missed most of last year with the injury. He's back, so an improved receiving core. And yes, they lose Love and Price at running back, but I like Aeneas Williams, Keedron Young, Nolan James, all solid. And with this offense, they'll be productive. And you touched on it, the schedule. The only 2 games I don't have them a double-digit favorite are at BYU and home against Miami, but I do have them favored in all 12 games. And I love their motto this year, leave no doubt. They got left out of the playoffs last year. This is a motivated team for 2026, and my pick for number 1.
Phil, SEC. We know you have Georgia and Texas in the title game. Give us the other two playoff teams. And same question I threw at you with the Big Ten. Do you have a team that is going to be significantly better this year, even if they don't make the playoffs?
Yeah, and the other two teams I've got making the playoff this year, one was picked sixth in the SEC by the media, and that's Alabama. And I know Alabama looked bad at the end of last year. They got blown out by Georgia, blown out by Indiana, couldn't run the football, and they lose Ty Simpson. But I'm high on Alabama this year. They're my number one surprise team. I like whoever wins the job, Keelan Russell or Austin Mack. I think they make a solid quarterback. They will have a better run game this year. They've got the pieces to work with. At running back, they've got Daniel Hill, E.J. Kroll, Kevin Riley, A.K. Deere, and the offensive line will be solid. The defense is good. And then you look at the schedule. I've got them favored at 9. I got 3 toss-up games, home against Georgia, at Tennessee, at LSU. Just win one of those, and they're going to make the playoff again. And let's keep in mind, this team actually got to the second round of the playoffs. And the other playoff team I've got is Oklahoma. They still have one of the best defenses in the country, almost everybody back from last year. And offensively, remember, John Mateer had a hand injury. Now, they do have to play at Michigan, at Georgia, at Florida. Those are all really tough road games. And then Texas at a neutral site. But I think Oklahoma can make the playoff. And then a team that I think makes the playoff, or not makes the playoff, makes a bowl this year and probably gets up to 7 or 8 wins, that has not had a winning season since 2020 is the Auburn Tigers. I like what Alex Golesh is bringing in. I like Byram at the quarterback spot. They've got the talent, and they're going to be an underdog probably in 4 games, at Tennessee, at Georgia, at Ole Miss, and at Alabama. But if they take care of business in Jordan-Hare, I think Auburn gets up to finally getting their first winning season since 2020.
We've got about 2 minutes left, Phil. You always talk about teams that are ranked in the AP top 10. They don't have that out yet, but they've got the coaches. Who's the most overrated team to you? I think it's either A&M or Ole Miss. What do you think?
I think the one team that's going to be ranked near the top that I don't think is going to finish near the top is LSU. And that's because, you look at Texas Tech last year, they brought in a great transfer portal class, and all of a sudden they were a title contender. But they put that transfer class on top of my number 5 most experienced team. With LSU, they've got a great transfer class, but they're putting it on top of my number 93 most experienced team. So there's a lot of change, a lot of transition, tough schedule. I think LSU is going to be close to the top 10 at the start of the year, but I don't think they finished the year that high.
All right, Phil, finally go ahead and let us know how to get the magazine. It's the best in the business.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Go ahead, Phil.
I appreciate that. 376 pages, 2 full pages on all 138 teams, available at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million exclusively. Best-selling magazine, by the way, of any type in Barnes & Noble, so I'm very, very proud of that. You can also go online at philsteele.com, and when you go there, I'm going to charge you a shipping charge. But we can order the magazine. We give you the digital magazine for free. And we also have an FCS magazine up there on philsteele.com, 2 full pages on every FCS team in the digital version. So Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or philsteele.com.
Phil, as always, you know how much we appreciate this. Our audience loves it. David and I love it. Thanks so much for your time. Enjoy it. We're only, 23 days away from the start of college football, Phil.
And I love it. Thanks for having me on Miller and Moulton today. I always enjoy it. One of my favorite stops in the summer.
Awesome. Then we'll keep doing it. It's a date. Phil Steele, once a summer, usually in August. Phil Steele, Steele 042 is how you follow him on X. Phil Steele 042, philsteele.com.
We've had Phil on for a lot of years. He's been very good to us. He does not give every show in the country 2 segments. Not to mention, he jumps on the Twitch and YouTube, and we went after all the Florida teams because, they're not making top billing this year. So we talked about the Canes and the Gators. If you want the Knowles, if you want the Bulls, you want the Knights, you're going to have to find it. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Core-Tech and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's as good a radio as that we do. I mean, I just think he's awesome. You got to kind of learn his cadence because he goes quickly, and you got to be ready. And obviously, I want to get to the Florida teams, but since 3 of them don't matter, I just didn't think it was worth wasting airtime for. That's why I did them during the break. And I'm not knocking you UCF people, but you're a 7-win team at best. And Florida State's a 6-win team at best, probably. Although he had higher expectations of the Noles than I think I do.
Didn't he have them like top 5 most improved?
Yeah, but he still has them. Where did he? I mean, he still got them in the ACC. Let me see it here.
Well, they have a challenging schedule.
I mean, he's got them tied for 9th with Georgia Tech. So, I mean,
Well, think about 2 of their 3 non-conference games are Bama and Florida, right?
Yeah, and it's at Alabama, too. I mean, they got road games at Louisville, Miami, Pitt. Man, those are all, upper-end ACC teams. They host Virginia. They host SMU. They host NC State. I mean, national championship game left, Twix. And I might have forgot Notre Dame there. I don't know if David would have, but I've got a buddy who listens every day, and he's like, he joined late. He goes, "Did you already do Notre Dame?" And I'm like, you know what? We'll do that coming up. Oh, he could fill 4 hours. He does an hour on the college football channel, I think Sunday mornings on Sirius XM.
We got lucky because when we started and were establishing, we were on an ESPN affiliate, and he had like a 10-year run with ESPN. And when you're on an ESPN affiliate, they strongly encourage you to go on ESPN affiliates and no one else. So we established ourselves with him. Then when he left ESPN, we didn't leave him at all. We called him right away and said, hey, we're here for you. You need to pump that magazine, count on us.
And the magazine was already big. I mean, he was already winning the prognostication battle, if you will. But there were still other magazines out there then. There really aren't anymore. And I don't want to say we found him, but there's several. I mean, we had Cowherd before, Cowherd doesn't do our show anymore. We had Clay Travis before Clay Travis was anybody. I found his Outkick site, and I said to David or John, I'm like, look at this. This guy's got some interesting thoughts. I'm like, John, I want him. And John got him. He was just in Nashville then, I think, right, David?
Yep.
And then he got the National Sports Show, and then now he's doing the politics thing. We had a few people. We were right a few times on some people.
Yeah. We've been pretty good at judging talent. When you don't have much of it, you need your guests to. So we've been pretty good at that. Yeah, he pumped us yesterday on X.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Hope you enjoyed that. Phil Steele for 2 segments. And for those of you that take in the show on YouTube and Twitch, we did the entire commercial break with Phil as well. Bob Harig coming up in about 20 or so minutes time. Poll question today. The Hall of Fame game is tonight. You get to watch guys hit each other with helmets and shoulder pads and helmets that you recognize. Not the names on the back of the jerseys, just the helmets. How much are you watching? Pre-game, first quarter, as much as I can? None of it. Go to that Mark Miller, Miller_Moulton on X, or you can vote directly in the YouTube or Twitch chat room.
And the reason we jest is because the Hall of Fame game, if you don't know, is Arizona against Carolina. Hello. 8 o'clock NBC, Tirico Collinsworth and company. Do want to just clarify, because we know it's, in the morning you're going to work, etc. And so you catch what you catch. And we know not everybody's watching and listening on Twitch and YouTube. The 3 teams that we asked Phil about, off air, if you will, for most of you, were the 3 Florida schools that we didn't get to on air: Florida State, UCF, and South Florida. And for the record, he does have all 3 being bowl teams. But he thinks South Florida is not a contender in the American, and he thinks they're a 6-7 win team this year. He thinks UCF will finally get to a bowl, but still far away from being a Big 12 contender. And he surprised us. He thinks Florida State is going to be appreciably better, but their stats last year were good. They just didn't turn them into wins. The problem is their schedule's harder this year, He thinks they're going to be improved, yet he's probably calling for no more than 7 wins, maybe even only 6, because he noted, as we have, how hard the schedule is. So there you have it. That's what you may have missed.
So he likes Notre Dame to get to the national championship game. Sounds like he likes Georgia perhaps as the other team, but thinks Texas is right there. Gave the edge from a coaching standpoint to Georgia. How could you not? Looks at USC as being the fourth Big Ten team to make the playoffs. He has Oklahoma. And I've got to tell you, if there's an area, I'm with him on the team Oklahoma. I just look at that schedule and go, are you sure? At Michigan, at Georgia, at Florida, at Missouri even, who's not terrible. Home games with A&M, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and a neutral site game with Texas. I do think that the Sooners have one of the tougher SEC schedules out there. I really do. But he is someone who did not think as highly of LSU. You caught that at the end, David. He thinks LSU is a team that's going to be a little bit overrated. Now, they weren't in the coach's top 10. They're just outside of the top 10 because he usually does an amazing job of telling you exactly what the AP poll is going to look like. LSU in the coach's poll is 13. And that's why I went A&M and Ole Miss, because in the coach's poll, they're 8 and 10 respectively. And I don't think either of them are top 10 teams. Both get quarterbacks coming back. You know what I mean? They both have, and I like Chambliss. They lost a lot of guys at Ole Miss. A&M lost a lot of guys on the line. I know A&M's got a big checkbook, but I'm not sure that A&M can pull it off this year again. We'll see.
Well, you mentioned Oklahoma as having a very challenging schedule, that they may be a better team than their record and ranking. But Phil still thinks they're going to slide into the top 12 and get another playoff game. Remember, last year they hosted Bama. I think it was the 8-9 game. And then Bama won in Norman, and then Indiana blew them out in the Rose Bowl. But, Mark, when you think about it, because obviously Oklahoma has to play Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and Texas is playing Georgia, right, in the regular season?
No.
They're not?
No, they don't play. Okay. Texas schedule, they've got Ohio State.
Yeah.
They're tough games on the road. They have 3 tough road games, if you will. LSU, A&M at the end of the season, Tennessee early in the season. If you want to throw Missouri in there, I'll let you, but I think that's a reach. Well, they host Ohio State in Ole Miss, and then Florida. The Texas schedule, they have Ohio State, so that makes the Texas schedule more difficult than most because they play a premier non-conference game. But their schedule, I don't think, is as tricky as a lot of other SEC teams, David.
I don't think it's as tricky as Oklahoma, but as Phil pointed out about all the non-home teams that Oklahoma has to play, well, Texas, besides Ohio State, Mark, you mentioned in November, they've got LSU and A&M, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, Oklahoma's not technically a home game.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty good away from Austin schedule. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's not Oklahoma. I mean, I think Georgia's got a little bit of a schedule break this year, and it all depends on what you think about Alabama. I think Georgia may have one of the easier SEC schedules as they've gone to 9. Now, by the time they play South Carolina, who's coaching? Because that's late in the season. That used to be an early game. I mean, they play at Alabama. Yeah, that's tough. They play at Ole Miss. I'm not as high on Ole Miss as most. Obviously, the Florida game's neutral site, but it's in Georgia. It's never in Georgia. The game's in Atlanta this year.
Right.
Auburn's always a big game for the Dogs, but I'm not as high on Auburn as Phil Steele is. Tech's going to be awful. And they get Oklahoma at home. So, I think Georgia, not only with talent, is incredibly good, but schedule, I think that their schedule gives them a bit of a break. And again, it's the SEC. I'm not trying to say it's easy, but when you're comparing SEC schedules, Georgia gets a break.
23 days to the college football season kicks off, 34 for the NFL. I would like to spend just a couple minutes combining the two. Since we're 23 days away from college and we had Phil Steele on as a guest, I want to ask you a college question, but I want to ask it using the numbers 34 because for the last month, we have been, when we're breaking down who we think the best number players are in all sports, we've been using the pro number, not the college number. And also when 34 was available, okay, for college, it was a Sunday. So we couldn't even bring up Bo and Herschel. I'm just curious. You had to choose between the two amazing, stupendous, do we have to come up with a new adjective? Herschel and Bo. Who did you lean towards?
Who did I lean towards? I leaned towards Herschel because I saw more Herschel.
Okay.
And, this is what, 1980?
80 through 82.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 11, 12, and 13, or 10, 11, and 12, something like that. So I saw more Herschel. That's why I would lean more Herschel. But I liked Georgia as a kid, just the Bulldog thing. I mean, so it was, the dogs were cooler and we saw them more on TV, and Herschel, but they were both amazing. So I leaned Herschel. Whatever answer you want to give me, and I don't just mean you, David, our audience, it's a tough one to argue. I mean, these are two of the best college football running backs to have ever played the game, period.
I think you could argue they're the two best college football players to have ever played the game. I mean, they were unstoppable forces. They really were. When the game was the tailback, that was it. Look at who was winning all the Heismans. Archie won 2. Okay, every 3 years, the USC tailback would win the Heisman. That went on for about 15 years. Okay, the sport of football went through the tailback. The whole defense was geared to stop the tailback. And those two guys were unstoppable.
And also, the little things to me, David, the shoulder pads were so big then. The way they, the running backs don't look like that. Doesn't mean that they're not gifted and great, but they were so big.
Yeah.
Compared to, because think of it, linemen and linebackers weren't as big then as they are now. So when you look at them in comparison to the rest of the team, they looked the same size as damn near everyone. And the big, huge shoulder pads, and just, obviously, Herschel running over the guy from Tennessee there, Bates, right?
Bates.
Yeah, Bill Bates. So, I mean, and the neck guards, as Deadstroke says in there, I mean, just the look of it was a different thing. And I'm just not even a teenager yet watching these guys play. They were so damn big to me. They, and I remember, I remember Charles White from USC running through Michigan in a Rose Bowl years prior. It's one of my first Rose Bowl memories. But he was lean and quick and shifty. And it's not that Bo and Herschel weren't fast. They just ran through guys.
Right.
And unfortunately, Herschel went to the USFL and Bo goes to the NFL. And I think all of us, Boz was such a larger-than-life creature in college. And here's Boz, who never was a good pro, and Herschel runs him over on Monday Night Football.
But yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, Bo, but Bo runs over Boz. I said that wrong. I knew who it was. My bad. But I mean, here's, think about it. Boz was a larger-than-life collegiate character, if you will. And he never makes it really as a pro, but it's Bo against Boz, and he runs him over.
Yep.
And trampled him like a rhinoceros would trample an antelope, for crying out loud.
And then the second time, to show off, he said, "You know what? not only am I not going to run you over, I'm going to make it so that you can't even lay a finger on me.
And
How
then
about
I'm going to run down the tunnel for
right?
as long as I can. And I might come back and I might not.
Right. Okay.
So,
Right. I'm on the toll bridge in Seattle, but I could end up in San Francisco before I'm done. Yep.
so I mean that's my biggest bow, even in the NFL, because I don't have a lot of. I mean, you mentioned it when we did 31st. Herschel was a really solid pro.
He was
I
an
don't have, but I don't have these one-time memories of Herschel as a pro, if you know what I mean.
And it's unfortunate because when he went to Dallas, it was right when Landry and the Cowboys were beginning to crumble. And so he ended up being the star player on a terrible team. And then Jimmy, had to sell him off because he needed the resources. And we all know how it went. But you'd be surprised if you took a minute and looked up Herschel Walker's NFL numbers. That's if you value receiving, receptions, and yards. His numbers are elite all time.
And that's not my argument. My point is there are college moments for Herschel.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't have a lot of moments that I remember for Bo at Auburn. I remember the moments in the NFL. I remember, it sounds silly, but not just running up the wall, but Bo Jackson striking out and snapping a bat over his knee. I just want you to think about that for a second. This is a wooden baseball bat, and he took it like it was a twig. He looked at like the switch that Adrian Peterson hit his kid with. That's what he did with the baseball bat, okay?
Wow, that is snarky, Mr. Miller. Very quickly, I think what most people remember Bo for in college, the only guy who was going over the pile was Sweetness. And Bo went over the pile to beat Alabama in an Iron Bowl when they shouldn't have. All right. And people went for his size. They went, I don't know if Walter Payton would have gotten that high. Holy blank. That was probably his big college moment.
Miller and Moulton. Bob Harig coming up on the other side. Big news in the Live Golf world and a lot to talk about on the PGA Tour. We'll do that with Bob next. Miller and Moulton. Fantasy football season is here, and there's only one place to get the edge. Join Miller and Moulton for the Fantasy Football Summit with Dr. Roto at Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe, Tuesday, August 11th, 7 p.m. Get championship-winning draft strategies, sleeper picks, busts to avoid, and answers to all your fantasy questions from one of the nation's top experts, Dr. Roto. Whether you're playing for bragging rights or big money, don't draft without this event. Tuesday, August 11th, the Fantasy Football Summit at Shoeless Joe's with Dr. Roto. Sign up, Miller and Moulton.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and Mark sound. Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape. If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller & Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller & Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest, now try the best. Miller & Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
All right, Left Twix, I'm sorry. You tell me what's tricky about the Notre Dame schedule. Go. They have 3 games. 3. I'm sorry. Wisconsin's not any good. Then they play Rice. Really? They play Michigan State. They're picked to finish second to last in a 19-25 team Big Ten. Purdue sucks. That's their next game. At North Carolina, a bottom 5 team in the ACC. Stanford, a bottom 5 team in the ACC. Then they play one of their 3 tough games. BYU on the road. They get a bye week before Navy at a neutral site. They play the Canes. That's a legit game. They host Boston College, a bottom 5 team in the ACC. SMU and Syracuse, another bottom 5 team in the ACC. I mean, their ACC teams outside of Miami are all horrible. Horrible. I don't fault Notre Dame. Some years their schedule's better than others. But don't tell me this schedule's tricky, Left Twix. It's not. It's a cupcake. All right, and I'll just look at you want to talk. Everybody rips on Indiana. Here's Indiana's schedule: North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky, all awful. Northwestern, Rutgers, awful. At Nebraska, I would say that is better than any but the 3 games that Notre Dame have. Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State's better than any team Notre Dame plays. They're better than Miami. So edge Indiana. At Michigan, I would argue Michigan's better than anybody else that Notre Dame plays. Minnesota, that's better than any but the 3 big ones. USC, who would you take in a neutral site game? USC or SMU? And if you think SMU is better than BYU, USC or BYU. And then they play at Washington. Come on. And I think Indiana's got a really easy schedule. But Notre Dame might play for a national championship. I'm not denying that. But don't tell me it's tricky. No, they do not.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, the final hour for today. Lively show. We had Antwan Staley talking Jets. Got knee-deep in college football with Phil Steele. And we'll start the pro hour off with Bob Harig. Follow Bob on X at Bob Harig. Writer for the Daily Drive on Substack, does some work on SiriusXM, has ventured out on his own. Bob, good morning. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Well, it's always our pleasure to have you on the show. Bob, I'll give you a second here because I know you did work with SI forever. Now you're on your own. Give people an opportunity how they can sign up for the Daily Drive.
Yeah, you can find a link on my Twitter. It's also, if you Google Drive in my name, there will be a link that will come up, and you just plug your email, and you'll start when we publish, which is pretty much every day. Not necessarily every day, but most day during the big events. And paid and a free model. Obviously, we'd love people to, but we want you to experience it in some form. And it's been great. It's basically what I've always. I'm just writing about golf, whatever happened, and getting reaction. And we've got a podcast, and it's just in a different form. It's a newsletter, and it's been fun. It's actually been really good. And aside from my wife, home boss with this thing. So I do have a partner who's great to deal with, but and we kind of just go at it how we feel works. And
You can follow Bob on X at Bob Harig, Harig. All right. So apparently the reports from last week were true. How much do we know about the specifics of keeping LIV alive?
Unfortunately, right now, David, I'm having phone issues, which seems to be the case every time we do an interview, multiple interviews on this show. And I lost Bob on the Bluetooth, and I'm trying to hook him back up. So I am very concerned that this is even going to work out the way we need it to. That's on us. But unfortunately, you could hear his voice wasn't right. And also, it was not picking up. We've done 2 interviews via the phone. Everything worked swimmingly. And unfortunately, going from 2 to 3 did not. And I have no idea why. So this may be the end of our interview with Bob. So I greatly apologize. It is. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to text Bob and tell him that's it, because you could hear it in his voice. Something wasn't right. And the only way I figured out to do this, David, is to literally shut down my entire system that we do the show on and reboot it. And I can't do that mid-show. That doesn't work for you and I. So unfortunately, we lost Bob there. I'll do my best to get him back, because we had a lot to talk about with Live Golf and the PGA Tour.
Yep. Scott O'Neill, LIV CEO, came out yesterday and said, we ain't going anywhere. We raised least enough to do 10 events, 5 in the States, 5 overseas. And we're still playing for the same amount of money, which is 20 to 25 million a week purses. So do the math, figure they got to have at least $250 million in reserve. So we'll see. We'll find out eventually just how much. LIV wants their guys now to be able to play on any tour. Curious how the PGA Tour reacts to that. I think I know how the DP World Tour is going to react to that. I think they're going to be okay with, we'll take as many top European players, even if it's only for a few events, as possible. Especially if John Rahm decides to stay LIV. But it will be curious if the PGA Tour begins to bend at all, or if they say, no, man, you stay on that tour, you're dead to us. So there's that. And then there's what's going on with tournaments. It's already been announced now that a playoff event, Memphis, is not even going to be a regular tour event going forward. That it's going to be on the Challenger Series. And I will say, it doesn't necessarily meet the requirements that the new PGA Tour CEO laid down a few months ago in terms of what are we thinking in terms of what courses and events will remain on what tour going forward. Memphis is not a huge city when you compare them to a lot of others. And the course is not considered elite. However, Memphis has always been connected to a couple of big PGA Tour sponsors. Big. And now, what does this mean for FedEx and their involvement in the tour? That's a big, loyal sponsor for many years. Are they going to put their name on something else? They're going to continue to spend money? Or is this going to be a divorce? Like the event they just played. I don't expect to see Rocket Mortgage throwing any money the PGA Tour's way.
No way. No way.
Right. Now, Mark, I happen to think the state of Michigan is such a good market for golf that while they would be disappointed, I actually think when the Rocket Mortgage, if it ends up as a Challenger Series event, I actually think it would be supported because they just love their golf.
It's possible, David, and we're going to hook up with Bob here in about 10 minutes. I'm going to get him next segment because I've got to reboot the system for giving you a little behind the scenes there. But David, I mean, think about it. They've got 2 LPGA events, I believe, in the state of Michigan, one in Grand Rapids and one in Midland. They've got the seniors where they used to have the Buick Open next week or 2 weeks from now at Warwick Hills. The next PGA Tour event that's coming to the state of Michigan per the schedule is the 2034 U.S. Open.
Is that at the course whose clubhouse burned down?
Oakland Hills, yes.
So it's awful. It's just awful. I cannot believe, and I am serious about this. I mean, if you're Scotty Scheffler, I mean, they got this new CEO and they got Tiger Woods with probably the second biggest voice on tour. But this is my time, man. This is my time. I want to play in the Texas events. There's 2 of them. Okay? They're basically the Nelson and the Hogan. I mean, way back, that's what they were called. Part of the Texas swing. And seriously, I would just look at the CEO and go, we're going to have big problems because I'm going to play in them. And what are you going to do? Find me?
Well, David, this is the part of it. And I get where you're coming from, but I just don't think Scheffler's that kind of guy. I understand your point. I don't see Scotty Scheffler being confrontational to the guy that runs the tour. The thing that I don't understand, that I can't figure out, what has Tiger Woods done in a non-golf world that makes him the end-all be-all of business? I'm serious. I mean, what? Yes, Tiger helped the tour grow, but you know why? Because he was a great golfer. What's the Tiger business venture? Because he gets, when you're rich and you're famous, they ask you to do stuff. So what? He created a putt-putt place? I mean, what is it that Tiger's done that says, hey, Tiger, how's this tour supposed to run? And you're the guy that we want to talk to about everything going forward. Does he not remember that he held tournaments together in Flint, Michigan for years because he showed up at the Buick Open? I don't get why we're putting all this trust in Tiger Woods. He's a personal train wreck, and yet we rely on the PGA Tour. We put you on every committee. Explain it to me. You know, as Javier points out, nobody asked Jordan to run the league, but they did give him a team. How good was he running a basketball team? He sucked.
Not good at all.
He sucked.
By the way, did you hear, and maybe one of the days I wasn't around, you talked about it, but apparently the freeze between Barkley and Jordan is over?
I didn't even know that.
So Jordan's playing golf with a former player, and the former player's got the phone, and he called up Barkley, and he's on Jordan's course somewhere, and Barkley said, how the heck did you get on that course? And the guy said, well, I'm playing with him right now. And by the way, it's blank that you two aren't talking. I'm going to hand Mike the phone here. And next thing you know, it was like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? And apparently in 3 minutes, they ended a 10-plus year, war.
Well, I mean, Jordan, the owner, didn't like the fact that Barkley, the commentator, made mention that he wasn't a good owner.
Right?
Facts are facts.
Yes. And so anyway, apparently they're golfing in the next 2 weeks at one of Jordan's courses. But
how many strokes has Jordan given Barkley? Like, I mean, does he have to give him more than one a hole?
I think so.
I've been doing in the Jordan world is sending the two young bucks that stick up for LeBron videos proving my point. At least twice a week, I send a TikTok to Felipe and Trent explaining things to the two of them. Because for whatever reason, it lately on video has taken a life of its own again. And I let smart basketball people do the work for me with stats and things to back it up. And I've had a ball with it. So I didn't even realize that, but that's good. I hate to see feuds. Feuds are bad.
Right.
Whether they're two famous people or someone in our chat room and somebody, pick up the phone, make a phone call. It's not that hard. Unless you're trying to call Bob Harig, in which case the Bluetooth doesn't work. I'm going to fix the system and we'll chat with Bob Harig next.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web, It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
All right. Phase 1 is done. God dang this thing. I don't get it. Javier, are you older? You're not older than me. I mean, I'm 56, man. I got a 12-year-old. So, I mean, I can't really feel your pain, my brother. I can't. I can understand it. But, I mean, really? And I have the same smart aleck. Don't kid yourself. And she got it from me. All right, close. Just let me just.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark.
Bob, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
All right, way better. That's fantastic. Holy cow. It's just the way things go some days.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, we've got
Yep.
about 30. Yeah. What's well, David's line is to err is human. To really blank things up, you need a computer.
Yes, absolutely.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Bob Harig joining us now. Things are fixed. We've had to reboot a system, and we're ready to go. Bob Harig. Follow him on X, simple as at Bob Harig. Bob, we kind of laid it out and then obviously got cut off, so I do want to get to it because this segment's not as long. Live Golf got funding. They're not saying who it's from. I don't know if that leads to people being concerned about like the last time with the Saudis, and I think that directly hurt the tour. What do you know about Live 2.0, if you will?
Yeah, I mean it's a little disconcerting that they're not saying who it is. I mean, if wouldn't you want to announce that? There's some things in there that are a little bit make you a little skeptical. It's a term sheet, which doesn't necessarily mean it's a done deal. Now, the Financial Times and Bloomberg later reported that the investor is a company called VC Partners. And, this is the sort of thing that they probably do. Certainly the Financial Times, they're not a sports publication, and they don't have a reason to wade into golf much other than for something like this. And they were right back in April when they were one of the first ones to report that the Saudi PIF was going to bail on Live. And I remember at the time there was a lot of, especially from the Live people, the broadcasters went on TV and were accusing the media of bias. Well, sure enough, it turned out to be true. So if they're reporting this, why would they even venture out on something like this if they didn't have it? So I don't know anything about BC Partners. I do know that they have a big investment in GSE Worldwide, which is a sports agency which represents a bunch of golfers, including Bryson. So, who knows? Maybe Bryson brought them to the table. Bryson DeChambeau. He's been, apparently heavily involved in trying to find them help. And he could have helped bring this to them. But there are so many things about this that still, it's almost like Scott O'Neill, brought this out yesterday, and then, 20 more questions pop up that don't have answers yet.
All right, I don't want to spend much more time on this because we're tight for time in this segment. But very quickly, should they change their name? First off, it's associated with the Saudis. It was built on 54 players playing 54 holes. Well, none of those three elements are involved with this tour going forward. Should they change their name?
I absolutely think they should. I think it's a great point. I think they need a total rebrand. If it's going to be Live 2.0, it probably should change their name. It's not going to be the same. The purses won't be the same. The number of tournaments, the number of players. Now, they are probably still going to lean into the team thing. And I could see them going to 60 players to round that off. But you're right. Why not call it something else? I think the name itself brings too much negativity, and a fresh start would probably be good.
Okay, I do want to switch gears and talk the PGA Tour because talk about a rebranding to me that wasn't needed, Bob. I'm not at all for this two-track thing. I'm bummed out that Michigan doesn't have an event coming to it until 2034 now. It's the third largest number of golf courses in the country, the most public courses. But, we're in Greensboro this week. What happened? Does North Carolina need two tournaments? I don't think so. So when you look at this new track, who's mainly responsible? And one of the questions I have is why are they trusting Tiger, the businessman, to help them out? He has no credibility in that realm. What's going on here, Bob?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack with this. Private equity is involved. They, when the tour went down this road of being for profit and having to make money and having an investor that wants a return, they were going to face some of this sort of thing. And what they want is big events, big money, hopefully a bigger TV rights deal, which, more interest the big names. It's shifted from the tour used to be about the whole. Now it's about the stars mostly. And that's what the championship series is about. It's the upper level. Now, I've tried to liken this to what, Phil Mickelson 15, 20 years ago was advocating for something like this, except he was advocating for this just to be the entire tour. He always wondered, why are we spending money on all these smaller events that don't get good fields? Why don't we put the money into fewer events? If you have fewer events, the likelihood is that all of the players will play in the majority of them, and you'll have better tournaments, and you can steer more money to the top players. That's kind of what this is, except the tour is still keeping a secondary circuit, the tier tour, so that it can offer playing opportunities. The problem with those secondary events is they're not going to have hardly any named players. At least none of the stars will be in them. And so they are going to have to sell this concept of sort of like, European soccer or, the Premier League soccer, where they have a championship series. Their championship league is their second tier behind the Premier League. Now, that's wildly popular because those are teams that are supported by their communities, by their local people, and they want to see their team jump up to the next level. That doesn't necessarily translate to golf, I don't think. So this is, it's awkward. Now, you mentioned, some of these markets that may or may not have teams. I would defend Greensboro and say it's been around for 87 years. It goes back to 1938. I think the tour needs to be careful about abandoning some of its longtime places like Colonial, for example. Like that's a tournament. Dallas, those are tournaments that could be in peril with this new thing. Are they going to be championship series events? So I get your skepticism. I mean, I think there's still a lot for us to learn about all this.
All right. Got about 2 minutes left. Level of angst from the tour players. Obviously, they're keeping it all behind the scenes and off the record. But, I mean, there's got to be something in this that honks off literally every single player on tour.
Well, if you're a top player, I don't think you're upset because you're going to get to play for $20 million every week. You're going to play. You're going to have a schedule that's pretty much set. You might have a little bit of leeway into what you choose, but the four majors, the players, there's allegedly going to be 15 of these. So if a guy wants to play 20 times during the year, and he includes the 3 playoff events, so the players, the majors, and the 3 playoff events are 8. So now you've got 12 of the 15 that you're going to choose from, and they're all $20 million events. I mean, it's the top level of players, but that seems like a pretty good thing if you're Scotty Scheffler or, Jordan Spieth or Patrick Cantlay or Xander Schauffele. That seems pretty good. The lower level is going to be far less money, $4 million, $5 million purses, not as much exposure. But the way I would sell that if I were the tour is if you are a young up-and-coming player, you can go onto that tour. Look, a $4 million purse means $720,000 to the winner. It's not terrible. It's a lot better than a Corn Ferry Tour event. If you're really good, you're going to clean up on that tour. If you win twice, you get to move up to the other one. But even if you don't, you can still make a lot of money, and you're not playing against Scotty Scheffler every week. You're playing PGA Tour events, and you get a chance to have some success. So, I don't know. I think it's going to take a lot of getting used to.
Okay.
And again, I go back to the whole thing. Money. It's all about the investors and the money.
No doubt there. He's Bob Harig. Follow him on X. Bob Harig is the way to do it. You can subscribe to his Substack, The Daily Drive, by going to Bob Harig on X. Bob, as always, thanks for your time. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks for having me. See ya.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
The Floormeisters just doesn't sell Core-Tech and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This is Miller and Moulton.
Fair enough. Fair enough, Javier. Fair enough. I won't argue with that. Anybody that's been in the restaurant business, I know you probably hate all the celebrity chefs and all that stuff, but the gal, and I don't know what her name is, that does the double bird all the time. I laugh at her because she just did a bit on basically what swearing means in the kitchen. And she had to, I think she had a challenge with Gordon Ramsay to not swear or something like that. But I got the biggest kick out of it because I curse like a sailor. I blame hockey locker rooms for it and hockey buses. But I also remember my time working at restaurants and the language that would come out of the kitchen when you're screaming at the expo because your food's not ready and he's basically got a cleaver ready to come over the line. I mean, that stuff is of legend to me. I think everybody should have to wait tables one lunch shift. A lunch shift, too, not a dinner. Dinner's easier. People are not in the same hurry they are. Lunch, good gracious. I'm sure, Jules, you're a bartender, right? Absolutely. Not a doubt in my mind. Yeah, it's funny. My very good Catholic wife, who really, I mean, she does not. I've probably heard her swear a handful of times. She does not curse ever. Obviously, there's me, and she's trying to have our daughter be like her, and I wish her all the best. That's all I can say. I've tried to tell my daughter, however, that if you use it very rarely, it hits harder. And I get you, Tim. There's nothing that's its own thing. But I guess, people come and go, and they may treat concession people poorly, but you've got them for 10 seconds. I only say that because everybody goes out to eat. And the way some people treat wait staffs really has always bothered me. And I'm not saying they treat concession workers well, because I know they probably don't, but it's give me a beer and they leave. Whereas everybody goes out to dinner a few times, and the way that some people, I've imposed it on my son so badly that he's literally not gone on second dates because people that he's dated, the way they treat service industry people, he's like, I can't be with someone like that. I agree. I think it's a hell of a test. You definitely, people who think that the world's their oyster when they go out to eat and just treat a server like crap, that, And man, I know Javier sees it because he works at a club. I see some of the way the members demand things out of workers at a club. It just pains me.
It's disgusting. I worked at a country club, and a member wanted to calm a dispute that he was having with me, and he called me son. And I said, can I call you boy?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Great show today. Had to kind of rearrange with Bob Harig to get him on, but we got him. Talk some golf for you golfers out there. Talked with Phil Steele. Started our AFC East run with Antwan Staley. Talk some Jets with him. Tomorrow, Bills or Pats. I don't know which. We'll figure it out. And then we'll go from there. And then we'll, next week, start with whether it's the NFC North, NFC East. We've still got those two divisions to do. And we've got the AFC North as well, all still ahead on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. But right now, we do this thing.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We start in 1890. Cy Young makes his Major League Baseball debut for the Cleveland Spiders, which should be their name now. He throws a 3-hitter in an 8-1 win. He made an error. That's the only reason that the Chicago Colts scored a run. Don Juan, the film, released today in 1926. First feature-length film to utilize Vitaphone sound on disc and synchronize a musical score and sound effects. Today in 1945, the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. I don't know why I said it incorrectly, but that's just me having a brain cramp. Satchel Paige at 46 becomes the oldest pitcher to win a complete game shutout. It was today in 1952, and he did it in 12.
And
1-0 over the Tigers.
And a lot of people think that Satchel was actually older than what he said he was in his 40s and 50s when he was appearing in Major League games.
But he might have been 48, listed at 46, exactly. Today in 53, Ted Williams comes back from Korea and joins the Red Sox. In his abbreviated season, he batted .407. Uh-huh.
The manager of the Red Sox said, "This man has done more to kill spring training than any player in the history of baseball." Because he did the same thing coming back from the big one, where I believe he hit .388 in his abbreviated season.
Today in 1960, Chubby Checker performed on the Dick Clark Show. He did the twist. It would start a worldwide dance craze.
Come on, baby.
Today in 1963, the Philadelphia NBA franchise changes its name. They became the 76ers. I believe David knows the answer to this question, but I'm going to let everybody play along for a second. Do you remember what their name was before the 76ers?
When Wilt scored 100 in Hershey, he did so, I believe, Mark, for the Philadelphia Warriors.
But they ended up moving west. The NBA franchise in 63 was the Nationals. The Philadelphia Nationals.
Huh.
72 at Oakland Hills, Gary Player wins the PGA. Today in 89, they retire Yaz's number 8 in Boston. Oh, I see. I somehow skipped a year there. So I have a little break. Boy, I screwed this up today. Today in 88, I'm going to go back 1 year. I apologize. I like to do this chronologically. But today in 88, Yo MTV Raps premieres on MTV. Run DMC hosted the pilot. So then in 89, Yaz's number 8's retired. Also today in 89, it was used a little writer's embellishment for the movie, but the police in Detroit stop NWA's performance before they can perform their song, You Know What the Police. No charges were filed, and officers tell NWA they just wanted to show the kids that you can't say, You Know What the Police in Detroit.
By the way, could you have two events that are more 180 degrees from one another? Okay, Yo MTV Raps, Yaz's retirement, or Yaz's retirement and the concert in Detroit.
There you go. Today in 91, Tim Berners-Lee releases files describing his idea for this thing called the World Wide Web and debuts www as a publicly available service on the internet.
Who?
Tim Berners-Lee.
I always stole it was Al Gore.
Yeah, so did he. 1999, Tony Gwynn goes 4 for 5 in Montreal. Padres beat the Expos 12-10, and Tony Gwynn collects his 3,000th hit.
You know, Gwynn goes 3,000 and Rose goes 4,000, both in Montreal.
06, Tiger at age 30 becomes the youngest to get 50 wins on tour. He did so at Warwick Hills in Grand Blanc, Michigan for the Buick Open.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's starting to bug me. And with every day that goes on, it's bugging me more. And I haven't lived in Michigan since 1991, I think. 2015, two things. One, Jon Stewart does The Daily Show. And I know he's doing Mondays now, but as the permanent host, Jon Stewart did the last Daily Show today in 2015. It doesn't seem like it's been 11 years. And Hamilton, after success off Broadway, begins on Broadway today in 2015.
That did okay.
It was excellent. It really was. I saw it when they did the second off-Broadway run. It was really good. Lucy, not a lot of birthdays today. I feel like I'm missing something, but I checked all my sources. Lucille Ball and Andy Warhol would have celebrated birthdays. The Admiral, David Robinson, he's 61. Greenie, Mike Greenberg's 59, and another ESPNer there, Max Kellerman's 53. That's all I got. Did I miss anything, David?
No. I know I said it the other day, but I think it's interesting to note Greeny's longtime partner, Golick, who's back on the four-letter network on radio doing afternoon drive with his son, he came out and said anything less than 11-1 and Notre Dame shouldn't make the playoff. And like 10 minutes later, Notre Dame announced that Mike Golick is finally part of their network.
One of the biggest mistakes that NBC ever made, hiring all of these color analysts, because I think Greeny does a good job, or Golick rather, is a good analyst when he was doing it a little bit more, and he loves Notre Dame.
Right. And
he's one of theirs.
And Notre Dame kept complaining to Westwood One and to NBC, where are the Notre Dame announcers? You keep hiring these USC, Boston College people. Hello? And we always wondered, why are they not hiring Golick?
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
All right, we start today for the good across the pond, where John Andresoy just graduated from the University of West England. He's going to be a nurse. Yeah, a lot of people graduate from school. But the Nigerian immigrant, who's a father of 5, studied along with his son, who was at the same university, because he just graduated from nursing school at the age of 64. That's impressive to me. For the bad, we go to Colombia, and not for the Peruvian marching powder, but for a screening of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Apparently, a movie theater was evacuated when the room filled with the foul, flatulent odor. Apparently, the movie theater stunk so bad that everybody had to leave, including one dressed as Spider-Man. Witnesses said it was compared to a fart. Now, that hasn't been confirmed, but theories include a patron with a medical issue passing a large amount of gas or the detonation of a stink bomb. Finally, the ugly, we come back to the Sunshine State, where Ortiz Diaz was driving recklessly, doing donuts, and he crashed doing donuts when he nearly swiped several cars, including one with kids. After he slammed his 26 Ford Maverick into the center wall, he jumped out and started throwing items into the southbound lanes. He tossed a bumper, a suitcase, a black bag. Inside the suitcase was a bunch of weed. Inside the black bag was Peruvian marching powder and a .327. I don't know. I mean, if you're going to do donuts in a car, shouldn't you leave the guns and drugs at home? Seems like it would make sense to me, but it did not for Mr. Diaz. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today, August the 6th, brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. New jobs, great jobs, overtime, benefits, lots of opportunities for jobs other than police officers. Go to capecops.com, capecops.com.
You know, when you said black bag, I tried to envision, all right, what are we talking about in terms of a bag? And I'm thinking going, do we think it was like a beat up casual bag? Or do we think it was like a Louis Vuitton? And
I'm thinking, you know, I don't know. I don't think it was, I was thinking garbage bag, but
okay. Okay. And when you told me what was in it, I said, oh man, I don't know. You can't threaten to mess up the inside of a Louis with that. Don't you have to save that stuff?
I don't know, David. The only way you could afford that stuff is someone that carries a Louis, if you ask me. But
yeah, that's true. So 11 baseball series today and tonight. 6 of the 11 are afternoon. Some of the series in the afternoon are Pirates and Brewers, Mets and Guardians at 1, Angels and Orioles at 12:30, Pirates and Brewers at 2, by the way. Rays are off, Yankees are off, Dodgers are off. So there.
Red Sox host the White Sox today. The Marlins, as David said, they take on the Braves before the Yankees get the Braves on the weekend. They're playing golf in Greensboro.
And they're playing football in Canton, Ohio at 8 o'clock tonight. Are you ready? NBC, Carolina, Arizona, the Panthers. And can you be honest with us tomorrow? Can you in the chat room let us know if you wagered anything on this game? Carolina, 1.5 point favorite over Arizona. Can you be honest with us, please?
I'm going to be honest with you. I answered on our poll question, how much are you going to watch? And I answered none of it. I don't know if that will hold true. I have 2 televisions. Will they both go on? If they do, there's a chance it sees TV too. There's also a chance that we got nothing tonight because my daughter starts school Monday. She's very busy with her extracurriculars, and this is one of the last nights we'll have before school starts. So I'm hoping that it's a family night, but I've got to be honest. I've got a 12-year-old that's going on 20. She may just want to talk to friends and stay up late and want nothing to do with mom or dad. That's a possibility too. You know, it's a possibility for you, the Fantasy Football Summit. It's Tuesday night, Dr. Roto, me, you, dinner, and football talk all night. The Doubletree in the Bell Tower shops where Shoeless Joe's is. Sign up, millerandmoulton.com, millerandmoulton.com. Tomorrow, Pat Kerwin will join us. What's he, in Baltimore tomorrow? He's in Cleveland today, I believe. Baltimore tomorrow. He will have been to Detroit. He'll be heading to Pittsburgh. So we'll have a little AFC North talk with Pat and find out what he found out at Lions camp. Miller and Moulton tomorrow, 6 a.m. Have a great day, everybody. We'll do it again in the morning. Thanks so much for listening.
Fantasy football season is here, and there's only one place to get the edge. Join Miller and Moulton for the Fantasy Football Summit with Dr. Roto at Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe, Tuesday, August 11th, 7 p.m. Get championship-winning draft strategies, sleeper picks, busts to avoid, and answers to all your fantasy questions from one of the nation's top experts, Dr. Roto. Whether you're playing for bragging rights or big money, don't draft without this event. Tuesday, August 11th, the Fantasy Football Summit at Shoeless Joe's with Dr. Roto. Sign up, Miller and Moulton. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller & Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller & Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest, now try the best. Miller & Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.